Good morning, my friends. Thank you for being here. We know you have many, many choices to make every single day, and we are always so very grateful that you choose to spend some time with us. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Happy Free Speech Friday. Take it on the run. Indeed. We're going to get into this because there's so much more to talk about in this story. But I first want to send some heartfelt thank yous to this amazing community. Just a couple of days ago, and in particular, shout out to Fish Trucker. I saw you in the chat, brother. An opportunity to fundraise for the Facts family for my move to YouTube, which required some equipment, which required some hardware, which required a bunch of other things. And your kindness, your generosity, and your amazing just community helped us hit our goal last night. So I want to thank you all very, very, very much. As is always the case, I'll be fully transparent. I've already got a couple of people working on putting some pieces together for me to find out exactly what we need so we can do this the right way, so that we can remain committed to our cause of pushing back against deceit, deception, and prioritizing the things that should truly matter in our community, like educating the masses, making healthcare available, and by the way, feeding kids. So I just want to thank you all for your participation. It's amazing. We'll do some more announcements on it later today as we compile everything, because there's a few things that we're going to do to recognize the people who contributed. So just thank you again very, very much. I really, really appreciate you. As a reminder, there's a gift goal today. Also, don't forget about joining our team. And as always, we are crowdfunded. If you want to support the channel, best way to do that is through the various appetizers apps that are out there. And if you'd like me to read something, I'd be happy to. So thank you all very, very much. I appreciate you all. Please also consider joining our Discord. That's where a lot of the action happens. It's easy to join the Discord. You can find the link in the link tree that is in my bio, or you can reach out to one of the mods. Also, don't forget about Factsstillmatter.site. That's the home of it's Facts HQ. You can see some replays from the show there. We pull elements from the show. They're housed there. Don't forget about subscribing to YouTube. Of course, that's going to be necessary. And you can pick up some merch. That's all at Factsstillmatter.site. So again, thank you very, very much. All right. So happy Friday. It is Free Speech Friday. We're gonna get into the whole situation with James Comey, because the Department of Justice is just melting down. And it is so blatantly obvious that they are in panic mode. In particular, over the Epstein situation. There's some amazing reporting done by Ken Delanian, talking about the destruction of the Department of Justice's credibility. They've lost all credibility. But there's just been a few interesting statements that have been made recently by the president. We're going to get into that. We're going to talk about the James Comey situation, because today it's Free Speech Friday, and we're not going to be suppressed, right? Because the TikTok deal there's an executive order that's been signed. Well, let me do that first. There's so much coming out. It's like 1,000,000 miles an hour. This was a statement the president made, signing the executive order, basically to extend the TikTok ban as they need more time to negotiate. Don't forget another lie that they told us just a couple weeks ago. This is the president from the Oval talking about, emphasizing why it is that we need to find a new home, so to speak.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. President, now that Americans will have operational control, do you want to see the algorithm suggest more MAGA-related content prioritized?
I always like MAGA-related. If I could, I'd make it 100% MAGA-related. It's actually a good question, but I would, yeah, if I could make it 100% MAGA, I would, but it's not going to work out that way, unfortunately. No, everyone's going to be treated fairly. Every group, every philosophy, every policy will be treated very fairly. Thank you.
Really? Okay. I'm glad to hear that. At the same time, during the same press moment, he said this about the people being treated fairly, people being recognized, open debate about policy. Yeah, this is what he said in the same segment.
Yeah.
Just so we
go ahead. Why don't you defend? Let's see you defend them, Jeff.
No, I'm not defending anyone. I just want so that we can explain this in our stories. Could you name a couple?
You don't explain it right, though, Jeff. Go ahead. Let's go. Maybe let's give you another chance. Go ahead.
Antifa, Soros. What names are we talking about?
Well, Soros is a name certainly that I keep hearing. I don't know, but Soros is a name that I hear. I hear a lot of different names. I hear names of some pretty rich people that are radical left people. Maybe I hear about a guy named Reid Hoffman. somebody's a pretty rich guy, I guess, and I hear about him. I don't know, maybe could be him, could be a lot of people. We hear the same names, but they're bad, and we're going to find out. And if they are funding these things, they're going to have some problems because they're agitators and they're anarchists. These are anarchists. Really bad. Okay, yeah, please.
That's nice. That's the President of the United States telling you that your speech will be suppressed unless you align with a fascist agenda. Nope, I'm Antifa. Sorry. Good morning. I'm Antifa, which means I'm anti-fascist, which means I oppose things like the twice impeached, 4-time indicted, sexually abusing fraudster, name on a list pedophile has stated. We just got our daily restriction. So friends, if you guys could just tap like crazy, tap away. If you have any small gifts, there's a gifting goal today. I think it's a TGIF. So do that and then do all the other things to help us stay relevant because apparently the free speech defenders don't want us talking about anything unless they approve, which is cool. So let's sort of talk about this because where we sit now is just it's just really interesting. So the latest is, of course, as you know, there was a special election this past week, on Tuesday. A Democrat in Arizona won the seat previously held by her father. And that means the number is now 218. So the discharge petition, once that person is sworn in. So there's rumors now that Mike Johnson wants to recess the House just randomly so that he doesn't have to swear this person in. Problem with that is the government is due to shut down on Tuesday. And we're going to talk about that a little bit as well, because finally a little bit of a fight from the Democrats, because they've got some leverage, because they've gone public. Excuse me. Hold on. They've gone public with what they want. If you want our votes, then please extend the tax credit for the ACA and peel back some of the money that you cut from Medicaid, Medicare, and SNAP. That's it. They said, yeah, we'll sign it. Sure, but these are the things that we want. And the Republicans said no to feeding kids, and they said no to feeding children, and they said no to extending health care benefits. Okay, that's cool. It's good to know. I'm so glad that they have their priorities in order. And don't forget, we spoke to a Christian this week that said children should have to take personal responsibility for themselves. Therefore, they should not get free lunches in school. The Christian nationalists among us, of those who are currently in our government. Anyway, so the House Speaker has threatened recessing the House just so he doesn't have to respond to the discharge petition. So don't forget, you get 218 signatures. So in addition, the White House has been pressuring the three Republican women who've signed on to this discharge petition: Nancy Mace, MTG, and Lauren Boebert. Pressuring them, why? Think about that for a second, okay? Think about that. Three of them who've really talked in earnest. I will give them credit. They've been consistent-ish, Republican consistent-ish, in wanting to defend survivors. Okay, so they had an opportunity to do this and they signed on. So the White House is pressuring them to not support this bill, to not support this motion. So Mike Johnson threatening a recess to recess the House so that he wouldn't have to swear in this additional Democratic vote, which would then sign on to the petition, which would mean 218. There's still two more special elections, right? So there's that. The White House is pressuring those people who've signed it. Thomas Massey has said, I've spoken to many of my colleagues, and they want this information to come out, but they're so afraid of the Trump political machine that they're afraid to do anything. So think about that for a second, right? Think about that. We've got the largest, I still believe it is the biggest scandal in United States political history, because of what it involves, because of the people that it involves, and because of what it involves. The cover-up of crimes against children, okay? So there's that. So we don't know what's going to happen. So let's just level set again on the facts here, right? Thank you, guys. But let's level set on the facts. Everybody keep tapping and sharing. Let's see if we can get some more people in here so we can have this conversation. I appreciate y'all very, very much. And don't forget, if you haven't joined our team yet, please consider doing so. And like I said, we're crowdfunded. Anytime you want to support the channel, best way to do that are on the appetizer apps at Factsstillmatter. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So if they do get the 218 signatures, it's going to force Mike Johnson to bring it to the floor. The Rules Committee has already said that they're not going to stand in the way, that they're going to allow the discharge petition. Now, there's all kinds of things that Mike Johnson could potentially pull, which I wouldn't be surprised. It's symbolic. I mean, this is a symbolic statement that there's enough support in the House. And again, this blows my mind. Think about what we're talking about here. There's enough support. Let me change this. There's enough support in the House to say, you know what? The American public really wants this information to come out, including people in the MAGA community, including everybody around it, everybody connected to it, even some of the strongest voices who would normally do whatever the administration says. And they want this information to go public. And Mike Johnson and the White House communications team and everyone else is doing everything they can to put this in the rearview mirror, and they just can't. They cannot run from it. They can't. So if they get the 218 signatures, it's going to force Mike Johnson to act. Going to have 7 days to bring it to the floor. Okay? Now, what happens in the Senate? We discussed this a little bit yesterday. 53 Republican senators, 47 Democrat. You have to let's assume all Democrats will sign it, right? Let's assume that, which then would require 13 Republican senators to say yes as well because of the filibuster. They need 60. So let's follow that through. 60 Senate votes, 60 signatures, forces that petition or that resolution at that point, because the resolution then would be passed to sign it as in law, gone to the Senate, they agree, and eventually works its way to the president's desk. So think about that scenario for a second, right? Think about that scenario. By the way, there's a recent statement made by the president. And we're going to talk about this amazing reporting by Ken Delaney and also by the Wall Street Journal. While discussing this whole thing over the course of the summer with his aides, President Trump said this, and I quote, "I don't understand why people are so obsessed with this. Palm Beach in the 90s was a different time." So the president, the twice impeached, 4-time indicted, sexually abusing fraudster, convicted felon, name on a list predator, is all over this. We know his name is all over it. We know he's got a friendship. We know he's got photographs. We know he lied about the birthday book. We know all of that. We know that Virginia Dufresne was recruited directly from the spa at Mar-a-Lago. We've got Stacey Williams' testimony. We've got Maria Farmer's testimony. We've got Katie Johnson's testimony. All that. We've got lies told by the Department of Justice, by Pam Bondi standing in front of the American people saying there's nothing here, nothing to see. She lied about the missing minute at Jeffrey Epstein's prison cell. She lied about the existence of a client list. Kash Patel lied about the existence of a client list. Kash Patel's trying to say that the witness's testimony and the survivor's testimony is not credible. All that we know that's in the public space. If this bill passes the Senate, it's going to go to the president's desk. What do you think he's going to do? And what would that tell you? That you get bipartisan support from Congress in response to demands of the people, bipartisan support, it goes to his desk. What do you think he's going to do? I think Republicans in the Senate are going to do everything they can to protect him. I don't think they're going to let it get that far. Don't forget, a telling moment of the testimony that Ghislaine Maxwell gave to Todd Blanche, she talked about, Todd, some of your colleagues in the cabinet. What did she imply there? Don't know. I don't know what she implied. Who the fuck are they protecting? And why? Why are we protecting? Why do we have elected officials in our government protecting predators? I saw that, Toodle. You're right. So if he vetoes this, there's not enough votes likely to overturn the veto that gets 2/3, right? If he vetoes this, should be another, I can't be taken seriously. Okay, cool. Sweet. Appreciate you, not today. Appreciate you. If he vetoes it, what happens? Is that another grounds for an impeachment inquiry? Probably. Why would people on the right not support that? I should say, why would they not want his signature on this to get the information out? Because they're going to lie again. They're going to just talk about this in terms, the Oversight Committee's already doing their job. No, they're not. Because the overwhelming majority of the information that the Oversight Committee's been releasing is already in the public sphere. The judges have already said that, your request for grand jury testimony is just bunk because you've got 100 times the information that we have. All we've got is one FBI witness's testimony related to the conviction of Epstein. That's it. That's all they're putting out. And don't forget, what they're putting out are like 1 page at a time PDFs that are not searchable. And the discharge petition, which we read yesterday, fully searchable. We want all of it. That's what we want. So what are they covering up? What are they covering up? Oh, we know. And don't forget, that story goes, Trump reportedly told aides, Palm Beach in the 90s was a different time when discussing his Epstein friendship. Really? A different time for what? A different time where molesting, graping, abusing girls was acceptable? Trump told aides this summer that he could not understand his supporters' obsession with the Epstein situation and complained that the public does not understand that Palm Beach in the 90s was a very different time, according to a new report. The president made the remark after attendees at a Turning Point USA event in Tampa in mid-July expressed dissatisfaction with his administration's handling of the late P3DO's case. The Journal reports in its latest dispatch on an issue that has dogged Trump since early July. And I'm just going to read you that story in just a minute. The president has not been accused of any wrongdoing in relationship to Epstein, who passed away in his jail cell in August 2019, but has been under intense pressure to explain his past friendship with the deceased financier and release all JD files, Justice Department files, on the trafficker's activities. He's currently suing the DOJ for $15 billion. The DOJ is like, bring it. Because of the birthday card, DOJ's like, or the Wall Street Journal's like, bring it on. Trump's not going to follow through in that lawsuit. He's just not, because that would mean discovery. Yeah. Wall Street Journal's lawyers have since hit back by arguing that its story is true, calling the lawsuit an affront to the First Amendment and an attempt to silence a newspaper for publishing speech that was subsequently proven true by the documents released by Congress to the American people. Because don't forget, Congress, to the Oversight Committee, did release information that Donald Trump said wasn't true. So is it the biggest cover-up in U.S. political history? Yeah. No doubt in my mind. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind. So let's get into this story from the Wall Street Journal, because I think it's really telling. So I'm just going to read it to you. So it's story time. Make yourself a cup of coffee. Maybe have another Pop-Tart. Everybody keep tapping and sharing, please. Appreciate you guys. All right, so the title of the story from the Wall Street Journal is Inside the White House's Struggle to Tame the Epstein Crisis. Finger-pointing, disorganization, and unforced errors by Trump advisors made the problem worse. Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein, he says? President Trump has reached his limit. It was mid-July, and some of his longtime allies were whipping up the audience at a conference in Tampa by complaining that his administration wasn't delivering the real story on JE as his aides had promised. Quote, how many of you are satisfied? You can clap with the results of the Epstein investigation. Fox News host Laura Ingraham asked on the first day of the event, organized by Turning Point. The crowd erupted in boos and shouts of not satisfied. Again, full-on MAGA crowd. Red hat wearing MAGA crowd. When the question was asked by Laura Ingraham, not satisfied. Trump, who would socialize with E in New York and Florida, and has said he fell out with him before his first arrest in 2006, which we know is not true based on Mar-a-Lago membership records, but I'm not going to distract, told aides that he couldn't understand why people were so obsessed with the deceased financier and sex offender, according to people familiar with his comments. People don't understand that Palm Beach in the 90s was a different time, he groused. On the second day of the Tampa conference, he called influential allies. Why is everyone so fixated on this issue? He wanted to know. What would make it go away? For much of the summer, the president has battled a crisis of his and his allies' own making. He and his advisors, including top two officials he appointed at the Federal Bureau of Investigation, Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, had previously stoked conspiracy theories about the 2019 jail cell death and Epstein's ties to prominent Democrats. Trump was used to having absolute control over his base. The E issue was an anomaly, a negative story on which many of his supporters didn't seem inclined to follow his lead. You think? Okay. White House officials said they underestimated how sticky the issue would prove to be, believing it would blow over and people would move on. Instead, it spurred White House Situation Room meetings and months of strategizing by senior administration officials. Disagreements, finger-pointing, disorganization, and unforced errors by Trump advisors made the problem worse. Attorney General Pam Bondi complained to other officials that FBI leadership was, quote, trying to destroy her by leaking information about internal discord, according to people familiar with the disputes. Other administration officials who tried to repair the ties concluded the issue had spiraled largely because the Justice Department and the FBI had totally mishandled it. This may be the worst PR event in history, said Ty Cobb, who led the Trump White House's response to a special counsel probe into the Trump campaign's ties to Russia in 2017. You've got multiple mouthpieces, and they're all covering their own asses now, and no one knows which way is up. In a written statement, Bondi said, quote, our only priority is to continue working together with the FBI to make America safer by ensuring murderers and violent criminals face the most severe justice. She said FBI Director Kash Patel and the Bureau have, quote, worked tirelessly with my agencies and state partners. White House Press Secretary Kaylon Leavitt said Bondi, Patel, his deputy, and others have been, quote, working together to advance the Trump administration's goals, mainly putting bad people behind bars. Okay. Stephen Chung, White House spokesman, said Cobb had, quote, debilitating diagnosis of Trump derangement syndrome. Remember, anybody who speaks negatively, anybody who says anything negative, any court who rules negative, any media outlet that reports on anything negative, they're all corrupt. They're all delusional. They're all have Trump derangement syndrome. They're all threats to democracy. At some point, maybe our friends on the right will understand that the more things like this come up and the more statements like that they make, the more evidence that they know that they're caught. I mean, they know that they're caught. I'm trying to imagine conversations, inside the Situation Room or wherever that might be, because he's got people on his staff that know that he's very likely, allegedly, very likely involved in some of these horrible crimes. Very likely. Or if not, knows a hell of a lot more than he's even telling us. They know. So what are they going to do? Like I've said before, it's not just that they're protecting him. They're almost protecting themselves too. And that's one of the reasons that MAGA is so desperate to try to I'm not going to say they're trying to distance themselves, but many of them are still so 10 toes down saying, well, why didn't Biden release it? What about Obama? Because they know they're stuck. Because at this information, when this information comes out publicly, whether it be through the DOJ or through the courts or just the women now, the girls then, of course, we've already, let me back up a second. I've asked you guys to remember the word credible, right? Because Kash Patel used the word credible. That's the word that Todd Blanche used, credible. President Trump's used the word credible. They've all used the word credible in an attempt to, of course, dismiss the sworn statements made by the survivors of this case. So all the people who've named names, they're not credible. Of course, that's the strategy that they would use. That's kind of like their last play. So this one now, Donald Trump saying, I don't know what people are so upset about. That's what the 90s was like. We abused kids all over the place in the 90s. No big deal. We trafficked girls. Yeah, it was like the 90s. We had our Velcro shoes. We trafficked kids. Nothing to complain about. Nothing to see here. So that's an attempt to try to diminish it, almost normalize Trump has told his aides he was worried some of his friends might be mentioned in the files and has complained that people should be talking about the administration's wins, not about Epstein. According to people familiar with the comments, at other times, he worried aloud that the files might have been doctored to hurt him, acknowledging that his friends are connected. So Trump has told aides he was worried some of his friends might be mentioned in the files. Hang on a second. I'm just checking on something. Stand by. Okay. I will, Sam. Thank you for that reminder. Trump has told his aides that he was worried some of his friends might be mentioned in the files. Why would he be worried about that? Why would he be worried about that? He'd be worried about that because he knows his friends' names are in there. You are the company you keep. And has complained that people should be talking about the administration's wins, not about Epstein, even though there aren't any wins. And according to other people, he was worried aloud that the files might have been doctored to hurt him. So I'm acknowledging that my friends might be mentioned. Why would they be mentioned? But that's just them. But Swishy Raiders, thank you guys. I love you guys. Hearts in the chat for Swishy Raiders. And then other times he worried aloud that the files might have been doctored to hurt him. Okay. Trump and his allies made calls to MAGA influencers trying to calm the waters. Vice President Vance spoke to former Fox News host Tucker Carlson, who had pushed for the administration to release the files. Candace Owens and others. Another White House official called Laura Loomer, who had taken to belittling the blonde Bondi as Blondie and criticizing her for what Loomer said were missteps on the e-files. Loomer recalled that the official told her that Bondi needed to be more careful, but that Trump had no intention of firing her. Interesting. The outreach didn't make much of a difference. In fiery congressional hearings last week, Patel faced pressure from lawmakers in both parties over the administration's mishandling of the Epstein investigation. This issue is not going away, Senator John Kennedy from Louisiana told Patel. In early September, Lawyers for E's estate gave Congress a copy of the birthday book put together for the financier's 50th birthday in 2003, which includes a letter bearing Trump's name that he said doesn't exist. Lawmakers appear on the cusp of forcing the Justice Department to disclose all the Epstein files. That's the discharge petition, right? So somebody asked in the chat, we're one signature short, but that person won the special election back on Tuesday. Grijalva, I believe is her last name. She won the seat previously held by her dad who passed away. So that would be the final signature needed. And there's still two more special elections, one for a Democrat, one for a Republican. So likely going to get to 219 signatures. It's still going to require the 4 people who signed on to remain connected to that. And then why wouldn't they? Right? So don't forget. So back to the birthday book. That's the reason that he sued the Wall Street Journal, because he said that this was made up, that there was no such thing. It didn't exist. So the Congress, the Oversight Committee, who's slow walking this whole thing, released it. So in early September, lawyers for E's estate gave Congress a copy of the birthday book put together for the financier's 50th birthday in 2003, which includes a letter bearing Trump's name that he said doesn't exist. Lawmakers appear on the cusp of forcing the Justice Department to disclose all the Epstein files. Trump and the allies, who he has since named top law enforcement roles, spent years talking about Epstein's ties to prominent politicians and the circumstances around his passing. In 2023, Trump said it was possible E had been unalived, though he thought he had probably passed away by self-unaliving, as a New York City medical examiner concluded. That same year, referring to the E case, Patel, then a podcast host, called for Republicans to put on your big boy pants and let us know who the PDF files are. Deputy FBI Director Dan Bongino, a former political commentator and radio host, had long questioned whether E actually took his own life. By the way, where has Dan Bongino been? Has anybody seen him? Has somebody checked in on Dan Bongino? I have not seen him since this whole thing broke. Where's he been? I haven't seen him at all. He is like the number 2 man at the FBI. Like, where is he? No idea. When Trump began his second term, however, dealing with the E investigation wasn't on his mind, and White House officials were largely uninterested in pursuing the topic. Geez, I wonder why, some of the officials said. Conservatives had long clamored for a list that they believe existed of Epstein's clients. In February, less than 3 weeks after Bondi was confirmed as AG, she told a Fox News host that such a list was on her desk, awaiting her review. Officials in the West Wing were flummoxed. What document was Bondi talking about? Oopsie. A few days after Bondi's Fox News interview, a team at the Bureau pulled an all-nighter to assemble some Epstein materials into thick binders stamped with Justice Department seal entitled The E-Files, Phase 1. FBI officials said the Justice Department had asked the FBI to assemble the binders but didn't say what they would be used for. On February 27, Bondi brought the binders to a meeting at the White House with conservative influencers. Justice Department officials gave Trump's top communication aides only a few minutes' notice that she would distribute them to the group. They didn't know she planned to talk about E in the meeting. My God. After the meeting, White House aides complained to the DOJ officials that drawing such attention to the matter wasn't helpful and instructed Bondi's team to coordinate TV appearances with the White House. Top White House officials pulled Bondi aside, telling her she needed to tamp down the issue with the right, not draw attention to it. I wonder why. It turned out that most of what was in the binders had already been made public. Elon Musk, at that time, near the peak of his influence in the administration, mocked the episode. Quote, "There is a mountain of evidence. So where is that mountain?" Musk asked in an interview with podcast host Joe Rogan. In May, after a Justice Department review of the case files, Bondi and her deputy updated the president. They told him, according to senior administration officials, that his name was in the files along with many others. Itself, no sign of wrongdoing. They told him there were no criminal cases to be made against anyone else, and they didn't plan to release any more of the documents because the material contained child porn and victims' personal information. White House spokesman Chung called the Wall Street Journal's subsequent reporting on the meeting fake news. The DOJ themselves acknowledged the meeting happened. They acknowledged the instructions that they gave to these podcasters, these influencers. They acknowledged that they coordinated staff to comb through the e-files, and then the statement from the White House was fake news. Okay. Later in May, Patel and Bongino told Fox News host Maria Bartiromo they believed that E had in fact died by self-unaliving. When she told them viewers might not believe them, Bongino said, quote, "I have seen the whole file. He took his own life." Okay, so then you've seen the information, which means you again lied that the information didn't exist. We already know that they lied about the missing minute. That was easily debunked. Trump had been telling administration officials for weeks that he wanted all the attention on Epstein to end, and White House aides encouraged all the officials not to play up any of the Epstein findings. But on June 5th, Musk, then on his way out of the White House, accused the administration in a post on X of withholding documents because Trump was in the files. "The truth will come out," Musk wrote. Patel was recording an interview with Rogan at the time. "Jesus Christ," Rogan said after reading Musk's post. Patel put up his hands. "I'm just staying out of the Trump-Elon thing," he said. Bondi, for her part, complained to the White House and Trump about a stream of criticism about her and the FBI's handling of the Epstein matter. Trump encouraged her to buck up, and others told her to stop looking at social media and lashing out at those posting, according to people with knowledge of the conversations. She told White House officials that FBI leaders, including Patel, were out to get her, those people said. Think about that. The Attorney General of the United States making promises to the American public about documents that obviously exist that she lied about. They're on my desk. We're going to get to the bottom of this. They're on my desk. The files are on my desk. All these information, coordinating FBI agents to comb through the records, having a meeting with the president, telling him that his name is all over it, doing her job, somewhat. And then she's all freaked out that the people are coming after her. Why? Because she is on the verge of exposing shit that they don't want out because they can't defend the president for being a predator? Okay. Okay. Get over. What am I supposed to get over, Tom? Get over what? Get over it. Okay. Bondi, for her part, complained to the White House and Trump about a stream of criticism about her and the FBI's handling of the Easteen matter. Trump encouraged her to buck up, and others told her to stop looking at social media and lashing out at those pointing fingers. She told White House officials that the FBI leaders, including Patel, were out to get her, those people said. Patel and others at the FBI wanted to release a statement explaining why they were dropping the matter, according to administration officials, and repeatedly pushed White House officials to release it over the long July 4th weekend. DOJ officials joined the discussions. Patel discussed it with Trump, who approved a plan to release the statement. Axios published the statement that Sunday night. The unsigned statement said the Justice Department review had found, quote, no incriminating client list and no evidence that would predicate an investigation into uncharged third parties. Quote, it is the determination of the DOJ and the FBI that no further disclosure would be appropriate or warranted. So that right there is spin. That right there is like, holy fuck. There's all this information out there. So we're going to have to come. We need to put out a statement. So we'll just say the FBI has concluded that no further disclosure would be appropriate or warranted. And they thought it would go away. Now, didn't they? It ain't going away. Quote, it was like a bomb went off after that statement went out, recalled one senior White House official. Inside the FBI, some officials viewed the Justice Department's decision to label the statement an FBI memo as an effort to foist blame on the agency, an FBI official said. Trump aides were flooded with calls from conservative allies saying that they had made a mistake. Some called for Bondi's ouster. Vance encouraged Trump's chief of staff, Susie Wiles, and other White House staffers to focus more on the problem, saying the president's political supporters were upset. Wiles told others the FBI statement had been a mistake. You think? Bongino threatened to quit, telling White House officials that he was losing his credibility among conservatives. Think about that statement. Dan Bongino, who's been lying to everybody for years, is worried about his reputation with conservatives. Okay. Yeah. He grew angry in several meetings, including one in Wiles' office, White House officials have said. 2 days after the statement went out, Trump berated a reporter in a cabinet meeting for asking about Easteen. Are you still talking about Easteen? This guy's been talked about for years. It's unbelievable. In that meeting, Bondi said that when she had referred to having the Epstein client list on her desk, what she really meant was that files related to Easteen into the assassination of JFK were all awaiting her review. In July, Patel tried to persuade Trump supporters to move on, writing, quote, the conspiracy theories just aren't true, never have been. You see, when you build your entire career on lies, deceit, rhetoric, and bullshit, when you're caught, your lies to try to cover up your other lies just sound like more lies. Okay. Prison interview. The only other person ever charged in connection with E's crimes was his former girlfriend, Ghislaine Maxwell, who prosecutors said had managed E's employees, helped him find the girls he would subsequently abuse, and lied about it in a deposition for a civil case. She had never testified at the 2021 trial that resulted in her conviction and 20-year prison sentence. Don't forget, she was convicted of trafficking, manipulation, assault on a minor, abuse of a minor, conspiracy to cover it up, lie, one lie after another. One lie after another, okay? This person that the FBI, Todd Blanche, the Justice Department, want people to think is credible. But yet the victims themselves, the survivors who were abused by her, they're suddenly not credible. Do you see? Do you see? As the fallout over the Easteen stretched on for the administration, her current lawyer, David Oscar Marcus, called Bondi's deputy, Todd Blanche, with an unusual offer. Would the Justice Department want to interview Maxwell and see what she now had to say? Marcus didn't request a pardon or preferential treatment for Maxwell, and Blanche didn't offer anything in return, as far as we know. Marcus had met Blanche years earlier at a legal conference. More recently, he'd hosted Blanche twice on his podcast to talk about Blanche's work representing Trump. Interesting. On July 15th, As Trump left the White House for Pennsylvania, a reporter asked him whether Bondi had told him that his name appeared in the files, which she had months earlier. No. She's given us everything. She's given us a very quick briefing. Hold on, let me play this out for you.
Did she tell you, what did she tell you about the review? And specifically, did she tell you at all that your name appeared in the file?
No, she's given us just a very quick briefing. And in terms of the credibility of the different things that they've seen.
Credibility.
And I would say that, these files were made up by Comey. They were made up by Obama. They were made up by the Biden information. We went through years of that with the Russia hoax, with all of the different things that we had to go through. We've gone through years of it. But she's handled it very well, and it's going to be up to her. Whatever she thinks is credible, she should release. Yeah.
So interesting to hear that now, right? When all the information that has come out since then, that all the information is that it was a hoax, that none of it was real, but yet the oversight committee is releasing things that the president said wasn't real, that the birthday book wasn't real. I'm going to sue the Wall Street Journal, and the oversight committee releases the birthday book that was in the possession of the Epstein state, that his signature wasn't real, that we found signatures, or that Joe Biden went back and what about Biden? Or Joe Biden went back in time and forged a signature back then. So he can't even keep his own lies straight. So it's great that we saved the sound. I got you. That we saved the sound from these previous statements that he's made, right? And then we have this reporting that connects all these dots. Soon after aides told the president the Journal was preparing to report that, I'm sorry, let me back up a second. On July 15th, the sound you just heard, as Trump left the White House for Pennsylvania, a reporter asked him whether Bondi had told him that his name appeared in the files, which she had, according to this reporting and her own statements, had said earlier. No, he replied. She's just given us a real quick briefing. And then it became Biden, it's Democratic hoax. So even if we stopped right there, and said, well, he lied saying it's a Democratic hoax because the Oversight Committee has released all this information. You sued the Wall Street Journal because you said that the birthday book didn't exist, and it does. So even if we stopped right there, in my opinion, that's grounds for impeachment. Seriously. So it's just a bold-faced fucking lie. I don't know how you can describe it or categorize it any other way. Soon after aides told the president the Journal was preparing to report that in 2003, a letter bearing Trump's name containing typewritten text framed by the outline of a naked woman had been included in a book of letters prepared for Epstein's birthday. Traveling back to Washington to board Air Force One, Trump told his communications aides that such a letter did not exist, that he would never write such a letter, and that he would try to unalive the story himself. From the plane, he called Rupert Murdoch, chair of News Corp, the parent company of the Journal's publisher, and told him the story wasn't true and that he should handle it. Just like the catch and kill stories that he wanted other people connected to the Stormy Daniels story to do back then, right? And the other woman who, what was her name? Stormy, and who's the other one? The Sports Illustrated model. I can't think of her name. Same thing. The catch and kill. That's the strategy. You want the publishers to step in, right? You want the publishers to step in. Karen McDougal. Thank you, Karen McDougal. Thank you, guys. Again, smartest shout on TikTok. Same deal. You want the publisher to step in. The National Enquirer, the New York Post, all these kinds of things. Catch and kill, right? Yeah. This was it was, what's his name? Who's the guy from the Wall Street, from the Enquirer now? David Pecker. Same kind of deal. That's the strategy. That's what authoritarians do. That's what corrupt mob bosses do. I'm going to keep my friends close, my enemies closer. I'm going to keep my friends close, so when the time comes, I'm going to lean on them to catch and kill a story. So it's the same thing here. Trump said, I'll just kill it myself, okay? Traveling back to D.C. aboard Air Force One, Trump told his communications aides that such a letter didn't exist, that he would never write such a letter, and that he would try to kill the story himself. From the plane, he called Murdoch, chair emeritus of News Corp, the parent company of the Journal's publisher, and told him the story wasn't true and that he should handle it, according to a person familiar with the briefing. After the article's publication, Trump sued Journal publisher Dow Jones, parent company News Corp, and several individuals, including Murdoch, for defamation, calling the letter non-existent. This week, the defendants moved to dismiss Trump's lawsuit. A spokesman for News Corp declined to comment. So telling the American public the letter doesn't exist, telling the American public the birthday book doesn't exist, none of it. Yet the oversight committee subpoenaed the Epstein estate and got the birthday book that they were told that didn't exist. Which rich Democrat am I related to? I'm not. Which P3DO are you related to? I'm just curious. Or maybe it's you. Who knows? Okay. As backlash mounted to the Justice Department's announcement that it was dropping the Epstein matter, Wiles convened a series of meetings in the Situation Room to chart an Epstein strategy. Vance, Bondi, and Patel and others were invited, but Bongino wasn't. Vance led the push for more disclosure, according to officials familiar with the discussions. Wiles and others argued that they would never be able to pacify the most rabid Epstein conspiracy theorists. Officials who attended discussed hypothetical scenarios for releasing or not releasing certain information, trying to determine how they would affect Trump's political vulnerabilities. According to people familiar with the discussions, they focused on a key question: how could the administration better manage the saga? Oh, I don't know. Maybe just try telling the truth. Maybe just allow the truth to come out and accept the fact that your boss is a predator that we've all known for a long time, and then try to have a moment of credibility and clarity and contact your friends in Congress and have his ass impeached, removed, and or the 25th. That would be the easiest thing to do because it's the right thing to do. Okay. Eventually, the officials decided to seek a court order to release grand jury testimony from the investigation. A judge later denied that request. They also decided to take up her interview offer, and that Blanche would do the interview himself. Marcus asked the questioning not take place in prison. In late July, federal agents brought Maxwell to the U.S. courthouse in Tallahassee, Florida. Maxwell told Blanche she never saw Trump doing anything inappropriate or illegal. The second day of questioning began with breakfast from Chick-fil-A. When the session ended, Blanche told Maxwell, quote, "So, I do appreciate you being willing to meet with us, and I expect that we'll be in touch soon." Blanche reported back to the White House that he believed Maxwell had been truthful and that she didn't implicate Trump, according to people with knowledge of the discussions. The next week, Maxwell, who had raised concerns about her safety in Florida in prison, was moved to a minimum security prison camp in Texas. Some White House aides wanted to release the transcript and audio immediately, believing it could help put an end to the drama. After further discussion, the administration released both on August 22nd. Top White House officials, convinced that the scandal would soon blow over, told Republican lawmakers in late August and early September that voting to release the Epstein files would be viewed as an unfriendly move, hostile in fact, and they wouldn't forget those who did it, according to two officials on Capitol Hill with knowledge of the calls. Still, Rep. Thomas Massie, Kentucky Republican, leading the charge, has said he nearly has enough signatures to support the vote, as we discussed. Trump now dismisses questions about the Epstein files as irrelevant. In the Oval Office this month, the president said that there was nothing more he could do. Really, he said, I think it's enough. So, I need some water after that. So what do you think? That's the whole story. Again, the Wall Street Journal, this is why we need the press. This is why investigative journalism is incredibly important. This is why. So think about it. What do we learn, aside from what we already know? We know that there has been a series of absolute missteps, or the ultimate is an understatement, in the Department of Justice. How they've handled this, not communicating with each other, having to tell lies on top of lies on top of lies. And they at every step of the way, because it's always been easy for them to convince their base to not pay attention to what's happening, to discredit it. But even people in their base are like, "What the fuck's going on, dude? What's going on? What do you do? What are you doing? Why have you been telling us all these little things?" They'll tell them something. They're like, oh, "Okay, that makes sense. Then that will change." But to me, this ultimately boils down to statements that Kash Patel has made, people outside of the justice circle have made about credibility. That's why I picked up on that early, and I want you guys to think about this. Trigger warnings. We know that women who are victims of sexual assault are not believed in general. And I think what the right is attempting to do is to create more distrust in the victims, survivors, who were alleged to have been assaulted by calling them not credible. So the 20 or so women who were girls at the time that stand out in front of Congress as the president orders bombers and fighter jets to fly overhead in an attempt to intimidate, stood there and said, oh, this isn't fake. This isn't a hoax. This is fucking real. The Department of Justice has their witness statements. They won't release them. They've asked for them. These are our statements. We like them released so they can go public. They're in the transcript. The Department of Justice has them. Now, we are constantly looking for common ground, right? I thought maybe we could find common ground on Christians feeding kids, but apparently not. Different conversation. Don't you on the right, in the conservative right, you defenders of children, don't you want this information to go public? So then why are you not demanding it? Why are we not seeing anybody who has a voice on the Republican side demanding it? Absolutely demanding it. Why are you not going into your lives with 80 of your friends so you can stand around and jerk each other off? Why are you not demanding it? Why are you not saying they are lying to us? Why are you not saying that? Instead, you call Thomas Massie, MTG, Lauren Boebert, and Nancy Mace rhinos. Seriously. What are you protecting and why? Oftentimes, from my perspective, I always want to remind people that it's become right versus left, blue versus red, D versus R, liberals versus conservatives, because that's what they want. That's what the oligarchs, the billionaire class, the people that are involved in this kind of stuff, that's what they want. So I like to see this is an ultimate. Why do I hate him? That's kind of funny. Why do I hate him? It's not hate. He's just a vile human being. Why do you love him is the question. Why are you not demanding information go public? Anyway, he won't show his face. My point is this, is the us versus them, we versus they, the huddled masses that we are, the people above us are getting away with crimes like this. They're protecting each other. Exactly. Hell, release them for Charlie. Release them. Demand that they be released in Charlie's name. Do that. They protect each other. I've said this a million times. A system built by people who look like me to benefit people that look like me, to protect people that look like me. That's what it's about. So if you are so angry at the deep state, and you are so angry about people committing crimes against kids, and you are so angry of corruption and cover-ups, then why are you not screaming louder than we are? You should be the ones that are like carrying the torch, tiki torch in many of your cases, but torch nonetheless. Why are you not doing that? Why are you not? You guys seem to think that the Democrats and liberals don't want this information to go public because we're trying to protect somebody. None of us give a fuck. So there's 1,400 people in here and a lot of people lean left. Friends, put a 1 in the chat if you want every fucking name exposed. Put a 1 in the chat. So MAGA, watch what happens. Just watch. You see? People don't care. We want every name exposed. Every one. Every single name exposed. Why don't you? You see that? Now you can make your arguments. We've talked about this before. I've broken this down. People want to say, why didn't it come out under the Biden administration? Well, don't forget, J.E. went to jail under the Trump administration. Ghislaine Maxwell was still going through trials during the Biden administration. So the information that we have that's gone public, for the most part, actually came out during the Biden administration. So that defeats your argument too. We want every single name of every single person connected to crimes against kids. Every single one. Don't give a fuck who it is. See how easy that is to say? We don't care. I don't give a shit if Barack Obama's name's on there. If he committed crimes against kids, put his ass under the fucking jail. Don't give a shit. Don't fucking care. Don't care. Why is it so difficult for you guys to say that? I think I know. I think I know why. I think I know why. Because I think deep down inside, although you'll never admit it, deep down inside, you know Trump's involved. And you can't accept it. And instead, you're trying to look for an out. You are trying to navigate your way through this because you have put everything, your entire identity is connected to MAGA. It has become who you are. It's no longer who you vote for. It's become your identity. So if the truth comes out, when the truth comes out that he's a predator and he's committed these horrible crimes against kids, all of what he's done previously did not move the needle for you. So when this comes out, are you going to say, well, things in the 90s were different? Because if you do that, then your entire credibility is shot even more than it already is. And that's why you are so desperate to try to say, what about Biden? Try to find something else. Thank you, peeps. Stop worshiping politicians. We don't. None of us do. None of us do. I'm going to give you, I'm going to play a little bit. I want to play some sound from the reporting that Ken Delaney has done about the Department of Justice, because this relates to it. And then how it spins into the Comey situation. What we have is literally lawfare. We have the weaponization of the Department of Justice in an attempt to try to move away from this. Don't forget, in that sound that we heard, he referenced James Comey. He said, Comey, Obama, it's Biden, it's the auto pen, it's the guy who works at the Chick-fil-A, it's the movie ticket holder. It's everybody but him. It's everybody. It's everybody but him. Everybody. Yeah, you're right. It's Samsung. Thank you, Sam. Yep.
Samsung.
He's involved too. Yep. Who else is on that list, sir?
Samsung.
I know. Samsung's on that list. This should be the easiest vote for every single member of Congress. Yeah, the think tank. Yeah, Samsung and the think tank. Tylenol did it. Should be the easiest vote for every member of Congress. 435 signatures. Why not? Why not? Why is it so difficult to just realize even if you're convinced that he's not in the files, then you should be screaming even louder to have it released, to prove it. Why aren't you doing that? So again, what we know, to summarize, the person who won the special election on Tuesday, Democrat seat, that person will be sworn in. And just like the last special election win by the Democrats, that person will sign the petition. That'll be 218 signatures, which is one more than half of the House voting members. Then it forces the floor vote. 7 days. No. That's incorrect. That's incorrect. That's incorrect. PK, come on up. I can prove it to you. Come on up. I can prove it to you. You said your Obama judge blocked unsealing it. Nope. It's not what happened. And we can prove it. We can prove it by just going to what the judge actually said about that. The judge said, what we have pales in comparison to what the Department of Justice already has. They have 100 times what we have. So why has the Department of Justice, under control of the Trump administration, released what they have? You don't know how the rules of grand juries work. You can't just release things just because someone asks. There has to be specific criteria. And Todd Blanche, even in his request, acknowledged that we're not going to be able to get this stuff, but hey, would you do us a solid? The judge is like, no, you guys already have 100 times more than we have anyway. You probably didn't know that though, PK, did you? Probably because you're in the cult. Again, the opportunity right now is for your elected officials to literally just release it. And why are you not asking them? Pull it up. Hold on. Pull it up. Sure. No problem. I'll pull it up. Yeah, let's find out what they actually said. Okay. In August 2025, Judge Berman denied a motion by the Justice Department to unseal grand jury transcript in Epstein sex trafficking case. Berman reasoned that the transcripts in question consisted of about 70 pages of testimony from a single FBI agent who had, quote, no direct knowledge of the case and whose testimony was mostly hearsay. He wrote that the information in those grand jury materials, quote, pales in comparison to the Epstein investigative information and materials in the hands of the Department of Justice. Berman also characterized the DOJ's attempt to unseal grand jury transcript as diversion from the much larger trove of Epstein documents already in their possession. He said the government is the logical party to make comprehensive disclosures of the Epstein files rather than releasing a small sliver of grand jury material. He emphasized concerns such as possible threats to victims' privacy and the risk to grand jury secrecy as additional reasons to deny it. Sorry, Cupcake. Sorry. Like I told you. Sorry about that. You probably didn't know that, though. But we're here to educate. We're here to inform. I don't know why it's so difficult to accept the truth. It's the court reading, my guy. That's what the judge, when you say quote, that means the judge said that. Quote, it pales in comparison to the investigative information and materials already in the hands of the DOJ. That's a quote. Yeah, just, you can look it up yourself. Why are you a P3DO apologist? Thank you, Stan, for calling that out. Yeah, why are you apologizing for predators? What's in your search history? What are you going to say now? Glad I was here for you. Okay, so we know the Department of Justice is in over their heads. I mean, this is what happens when you have incompetence. So we're going to talk about Pete Hegseth basically telling the world, our friends and foes, that I'm bringing all of our various generals and admirals and high-ranking military officials, brass, to meet. I'm gonna let everybody know. And the people are like, "What the fuck are you doing, dude? We're all in one spot. We're all in one spot." So let's first, we'll cover that in a second. I want to unpack this story a little bit more because I think the reporting is so great. So this is a little bit more. This has to do with the indictment of James Comey. We're going to talk about that in just a second. Let me first play you the sound of Mr. Comey because he got indicted. We'll talk about that in just a second. Here you go. Hold on.
My family and I have known for years that there are costs to standing up to Donald Trump. But we couldn't imagine ourselves living any other way. We will not live on our knees, and you shouldn't either. Somebody that I love dearly recently said that fear is the tool of a tyrant, and she's right. But I'm not afraid, and I hope you're not either. I hope instead you are engaged, you are paying attention, and you will vote like your beloved country depends upon it, which it does. My heart is broken for the Department of Justice, but I have great confidence in the federal judicial system, and I'm innocent. So let's have a trial and keep the faith.
Good statement, right? I'm not a fan of James Comey, but whatever, it's a good statement. So before we get into the sound, because the reason I'm doing it this way is I just want to remind people that the Department of Justice, it's the United States Department of Justice. It's not the President's Department of Justice. It lives under the executive branch, but it is the U.S. Department of Justice. Okay? They are incompetent at best. Incompetent at best. The Attorney General, incompetent. Director of the FBI, incompetent. Assistant Director of the FBI, incompetent. The entire group has no fucking idea what they're doing. So a statement from the president, whether you like corrupt James Comey or not, and I can't imagine too many people liking him, he lied. It is not a complex lie. It's very simple, but important. There is no way he can explain his way out of it. He is a dirty cop and always has been, but he was just assigned a crooked Joe Biden appointed judge. So he's off to a very good start. Nevertheless, words are words, and he wasn't hedging or in dispute. He was very positive. There was no doubt in his mind about what he said or meant by saying it. He left himself zero margin of error on a big and important answer to a question he just got unexpectedly caught. James Dirty Cop Comey was a destroyer of lives. He knew exactly what he was saying and that it was very serious and far-reaching lie for which a big price must be paid. President DJT. So what is it that we're talking about? Let's first go to what the indictment says. So the indictment details. He was indicted for making a false statement, 18 U.S. Code 1001. The indictment claims Comey falsely told Congress that he did not authorize anyone at the FBI to serve as an anonymous source of the media. Specifically, prosecutors allege that the statement was false, that in truth he had authorized someone to be an anonymous source. Also, obstruction of a congressional proceeding, 18 U.S. Code 1505. The indictment alleges that Comey obstructed a congressional investigation into leaks of sensitive information. The proceeding in question is the congressional hearing where he testified in 2020. A third proposed false statement count was reportedly considered but rejected by the grand jury. So, what is it that we're talking about? Let's go to the tape. Here you go. This is some reporting.
Donald Trump's campaign to prosecute his political enemies, what could be a watershed moment for our democracy, is reaching a fever pitch, with an indictment against former FBI Director James Comey expected as soon as today.
We got it.
As for the president driving us towards that watershed moment, here's what he had to say about his former FBI director just today.
I can't tell you what's going to happen because I don't know. You have very professional people headed up by the Attorney General and Todd Blanche and Lindsey Halligan, who's very smart, good lawyer, very good lawyer.
Okay, I'm going to pause there for just a second. He just referred to Lindsey Halligan. Lindsey Halligan is the person who replaced, she's the person that replaced Eric Seidert, who was a highly respected prosecutor appointed by the Trump administration. And she was appointed to replace him. And then within hours of getting that gig is when they kicked off the indictment. Okay, this is Lindsey Halligan. Okay, I'm going to play this sound for you. And this is the person that Donald Trump just called highly respected and highly professional. This is who she is.
You know, classrooms shouldn't be stages upon which teachers can preach their various indoctrination masquerading as eternal truths. And similarly, museums that are over 70% funded by the federal government shouldn't be laboratories for political experiments. And so what we're doing is we just sent a letter to the Smithsonian asking for all information regarding their exhibits and their placards to try to get to the bottom of what happened and where the Smithsonian went wrong, and try to make the Smithsonian amazing and great and live up to what the president wants the Smithsonian and DC to be. It's the capital of our city, and we need to make
it's the capital of our city. That's one.
It amazing and great and beautiful.
Yeah, Lindsay, I mean, obviously, Charla and I both lived in D.C. for a number of years. I love the Smithsonian's and visiting them, taking family and friends there. And we often talk about preserving history in museums and not erasing it. But how do you balance that? That, you know, we need to be able to review this while honoring even our not so pleasant past.
Yeah, I mean, it's not about whitewashing. It's all about full context. So while slavery is obviously a horrible aspect of our nation's history, you can't really talk about slavery honestly unless you also talk about hope and progress.
You can't talk about slavery honestly unless you talk about hope and progress.
And I think we need to be focusing on the progress that we've made since then, and we need to stop focusing so much on the lack of progress. We need to keep moving forward as a country. Our 250th anniversary as a country is coming up next July, and we're hoping that the Smithsonian and DC is beautiful and amazing and a place that all Americans want to come visit during that time. And so I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, Lynn.
That is the person who now heads up the Eastern District of Virginia. That that replaced a person who was a well-respected prosecutor who said there is no evidence to indict James Comey. I'm not going to make up shit just because you tell me to. That person, Lindsay Halligan, now has that seat. That person who said, yeah, you can't really talk about slavery honestly unless you talk about hope and progress. And Donald Trump called her competent. What was the statement that he used? Hold on, I'll find it. Stand by. Where is it?
The Attorney General and Todd Blanche and Lindsay Halligan, who's very smart, good lawyer, very good lawyer. They're going to make a determination. I'm not making that determination. I think I'd be allowed to get involved if I want, but I don't really choose to do so.
Do you think? Wait, you told Pam Bondi to hire Lindsay. You're going to appoint her so that she could investigate Comey and Obama and everybody else. You just told her. You told us that in Truth Social. You told us that.
I can only say that Comey's a bad person. He's a sick person. I think he's a sick guy, actually. He did terrible things at the FBI. But I don't know. I have no idea what's going to happen.
Trump's claim to not be involved in a criminal case against one of his most prominent critics, well, that does not square up with this reporting from the Wall Street Journal.
Doesn't.
Quote, Trump has pushed Bondi repeatedly in private in recent days to bring charges against Comey, even as she has expressed reservations about the case. And she's not alone. At all levels of the Justice Department, there is reportedly a sense that there is simply no there. MSNBC reporting this, quote, the Justice Department's plan to indict James Comey encountered a last-minute roadblock earlier this week when line prosecutors presented President Trump's newly installed U.S. attorney in the Eastern District of Virginia with a memo suggesting their case against the former FBI director is too weak to pursue. Two sources familiar with the case said the memo explained why prosecutors lack sufficient evidence to convince a grand jury to indict Comey. The U.S. Attorney, Lindsay Halligan, can overrule their recommendation.
Of course she can.
Halligan, who has never prosecuted a case in her entire career, she was an insurance lawyer and Trump's defense lawyer, is, quote, rushing against the clock before the statute of limitations involving one charge believed to be central to the case expires within the week. That charge, allegations that the former FBI director lied to Congress about whether he authorized a leak of information to the media. Here's the exchange with Senator Ted Cruz that is apparently at issue.
So before I play that sound, the statute of limitation runs out on the 30th for one of the charges. So they were desperate. So they had to move quickly to even try to do this. The person who's now running up this entire office, which is one of the big offices in the Department of Justice in the entire tree, has never prosecuted a case. She's an insurance lawyer. Alina Habba used to defend like parking garages. And she was supposed to be a lead prosecutor in New Jersey. And the judges are like, fuck no. And don't forget, one of his claims, like, I only hire the best. These are the best? These are the best you got? By the way, thank you to Megan. Megan says, saw your Antifa ads on YouTube. Thank you, Megan. I appreciate you for the $3 on the green appetizer app. Appreciate you very much. We only hire the best? This is the best you got? Really? A person who's never tried a case in their life, who's leading up a prosecution division, that's what they're there to do. They're there to prosecute crimes, indict people. She's a defense attorney, insurance. She's a loyalist. She doesn't think slavery's a big deal. Can't talk about slavery honestly unless we talk about hopes and prosperity. Yeah, and then Washington, D.C. is the capital of our city. Cool. Only the best and brightest.
Chairman Grassley asked you point blank.
So this is from a testimony of James Comey in front of a Senate in front of Ted Cruz at a Senate hearing in 2020.
Quote, have you ever been an anonymous source in news reports about matters relating to the Trump investigation or the Clinton investigation? You responded under oath, quote, never. Now, as you know, Mr. McCabe, who works for you, has publicly and repeatedly stated that he leaked information to the Wall Street Journal and that you were directly aware of it and that you directly authorized it? Who's telling the truth?
I can only speak to my testimony. I stand by what the testimony you summarized that I gave in May of 2017.
So your testimony is you've never authorized anyone to leak. And Mr. McCabe, if he says contrary, is not telling the truth. Is that correct?
Again, I'm not going to characterize Andy's testimony, but mine is the same today.
Okay, so the question of whether or not Comey lied right there has already been investigated.
So, Taco Cat, I see you in here wanting attention again, and you're saying he's so cooked. Do you read anything other than the back of the cereal box? Because if you did, you would understand the statement that this reporter's about to tell you completely debunks your bullshit.
The truth, is that correct?
Again, I'm not going to characterize Andy's testimony, but mine is the same today.
Okay, so the question of whether or not Comey lied right there has already been investigated. According to MSNBC's reporting, quote, an independent investigation by the Justice Department Inspector General concluded that Comey did not authorize the release of the information and that FBI rules allowed McCabe, as deputy director, to speak to the news media without authorization. The Justice Department reportedly
already investigated. Do you understand? Already investigated. Already investigated. Cleared.
Barreling ahead with an indictment of one of President Trump's political critics is where we start today. Ken Delaney, Justice and Intelligence correspondent for MSNBC, White House correspondent for the New York Times, author of 2024, Tyler Pager is with us, plus former Department of Justice pardon attorney Liz Oyler, who was fired by Trump's Justice Department back in March. It is good to see you all. Ken, you and our colleague Carol Leonnig, you were the first to report on this. What is the latest?
Good afternoon, Alicia. Yeah, we believe that the U.S. Attorney, Lindsay Halligan, is moving forward with the case, despite that memo that she received recommending that she not do so. And again, that memo said that not only do these lawyers think they can't win the case and convince a jury beyond a reasonable doubt that James Comey is guilty of lying to Congress, they don't even believe there's probable cause, which is the lower standard by which you obtain an indictment. Although the Justice Department rules, the ethical rules, say that a prosecutor should believe they could win a conviction if they even seek an indictment. But we think they're moving forward. We believe the grand jury is sitting today. They may be presenting to the grand jury today. We're waiting to see what happens here. And look, I mean, you laid it out really well. There was a saying in Stalinist Russia, find me the man and I'll show you the crime. And that's really... that looks like what's happening here. I mean, this was James Comey and his conduct in the Russia investigation was scrutinized by a different Trump-appointed prosecutor, John Durham, the special counsel, who looked at everything and didn't charge Comey, or very few other people actually, didn't even criticize Comey in terms of his candor to Congress in his final report. And this issue with the divergence between Comey's account and McCabe's account on this particular leak to the Wall Street Journal, this has been around for years. 5 years ago, actually, is when he delivered that testimony. That's why the statute of limitations lapses early next week. And just because there's a disagreement over what happened, that doesn't make it perjury. In order to make a perjury charge, you have to show evidence that James Comey intended to deceive Congress, that he knew he was lying, that he had criminal intent. And I'm not aware of any evidence of that. And it appears that career prosecutors inside the Eastern District of Virginia didn't think there was enough evidence of that either. But of course, Donald Trump has been pushing Pam Bondi. He did it publicly on Truth Social to indict not only James Comey, but Letitia James, the New York Attorney General, and Adam Schiff, the senator from California. And it looks like the machinery of justice is doing his bidding. And that is a place we have not been before as a country, particularly since Watergate. But even before that, the idea of a president ordering his Justice Department to charge his political enemies, whether they think there's evidence or not, that is a very dangerous place that we're in as a country right now, Alicia.
Liz, I agree that this does feel fundamentally different than even the long line of attacks against the system of justice that we have seen from this administration. I want to read you something from ABC News about those line prosecutors that Ken Delaney was just talking about. They would argue that seeking the charges would violate DOJ policy, raise serious ethical issues, and risk being rejected by the grand jury. She plans to pursue an indictment anyway, carrying out the clear mandate she received when she was installed into the position over the weekend. But before we even talk about Lindsay Halligan and what this means for her and why she...
Taco Cat, what did I attach Trump to? I attached Trump and anyone who shook his hand. Do you forget? What did I attach him to? I'm not sure. Like, did I attach him with a Velcro? Did I use duct tape? Did I use Tylenol? What did I use to attach him with? Taco. The chat is enjoying your engagement today, Taco, so thank you.
She is there. If you are those career prosecutors and you have been making this case to your new boss that there is no there, that this cannot clear the lowest possible bar and standard of the Justice Department's own rules and regulations, and she says, I'm going to do it anyway, what does that say to you as a line prosecutor, and how much longer can you stay in that role in good faith?
I think people in the Justice Department now are in a very hard situation where they have to choose between fulfilling their duties to uphold the Constitution and follow the rules of the department and pleasing their boss. And for those folks, I hope that they choose to lead with integrity and not to let their principles and duties be compromised to achieve a political objective. Essentially, what's happening now is the longstanding practices of the Department of Justice are being turned on their head. Prosecutors are required to start with facts and evidence and pursue cases from there. It is quite the opposite to start with a target and then try to build a case around them, which is what they're being asked to do here. This is the type of thing that a lawyer could lose their law license over. So I hope that people are taking a long view of this within the Justice Department and intend to stand up for what's right and allow themselves to be fired or to quit if that's what it takes to.
I think that's the point, right? So everybody, so this is the problem. When you're like Taco and others, when you've been drinking the Kool-Aid and sniffing the taint for years, you have been told that everybody who stands up against you are criminals. The radical left, lunatics, enemies from within. So, of course, people with weak minds like Taco, the inability to navigate through anything other than smell their own farts. When presented with career prosecutors, Mr. Siebert in Virginia, by the way, appointed by Trump, said, there's no evidence here. I'm not going to pursue an indictment because there's no evidence. I'm not just going to run I'm going to hold to my own ethics and say, listen, there's no evidence here. There's none. There's no evidence. So Trump pressured him to resign, right? And he did. And he said, this is ridiculous. And then people in the agency, in his division that he was responsible for, said the same thing. There's no evidence here. So are all those people rhinos? Are all those people corrupt too? So instead, he goes out and hires someone, appoints someone who's an insurance lawyer, who has never tried a case, never prosecuted a case in her life, thinks that we can't talk about slavery unless we talk about hope and promise. That person comes up with an indictment that's already been investigated. And you guys are cheering that on. You guys can tap like crazy. I'd appreciate that. Everybody tap to show Taco how much you love me. Appreciate y'all very much. So I'm sorry, but when you live in a cult, this is what happens.
Good morning. Good morning.
Go away, Taco. You're not staying. Go away. Anyway, this is what happens when you've got incompetence leading incompetence. When you've got corruption leading corruption. When you've got liars, cheaters, predators, etc., you're not going to get anywhere. And when you call truth to power, this is what happens. Hello, Elizabeth. How are you this morning? Hi, Elizabeth.
Hi. Hold on. I want to pull over so that I can park. I want to ask you a question. Okay, I'm pulled over. I'm parked. I want to ask you a question because I love watching your lives, and I think you're very intelligent. And this is a huge concern of mine, and I would love your valued opinion.
Thank you.
Are you concerned with Trump trying to redistrict and basically steal the votes. Not, I wouldn't say steal vote, but you know what I'm saying. Are you worried about the redistricting, or do you think we will be able to make some kind of impact in the midterms? That's one of my biggest fears. Because if not, he can just continue this chaos.
Right. It's technically not redistricting. This is what's referred to as gerrymandering. Redistricting happens every 10 years because of the census. That's legal. What they did in Texas and Missouri and in California is considered illegal because it's between the census. So you redistrict every 10 years based on movement within your population. That's why the census is so important. So to answer your question, am I concerned about it? Well, it's proof to me that Republicans know that they can't win unless they cheat. So it's not Trump that's doing it technically, because this would be a state-by-state legislative issue, meaning that the legislature has to vote on it. Although Texas responded to pressure by Trump to do that. So am I concerned? I'm concerned for democracy because Republicans can't win an election unless they cheat. That's been proven. So that's my concern.
Yeah, and I guess that scares me because I have the hopes that when we hit the midterms, his ratings have gone down so low, and a lot of people are upset with things that he's doing. And so my hope is that we will be able to make some kind of change. That's my hope. I said I was scared about 4 years, but then I thought, wait a minute, in 2 years, we can make a difference. We could do something. But I'm also fearful because it seems like he's doing things under the radar, and he's distracting us with other things so that we don't see what's really happening. And that I would love to know the way that you educate yourself, the best way that you educate yourself on these things so that we don't remain naive or uneducated, because that's what he wants. He wants us to be uneducated and just follow lead and be fearful.
Yeah, that's fair. Elizabeth, thanks for jumping in today. I appreciate you for stopping, and you had some good music playing there, but thanks for being here. I appreciate you. I think so. To answer the question, so for those of you who know me, I'm an avid reader. I don't watch mainstream news. I'll use mainstream news to inform me of a story, and then I will research it. I'll play sound bites as long as I can confirm the information that's in the soundbite is accurate. So I use like ABC, I use Reuters, I use Politico, I use NPR, I use PBS, I use BBC, I use Al Jazeera. Those are always the ones that are right down the middle. Because media in general is biased, but it's not necessarily the story that's biased, it's the editorializing connected to it. So I have what's called factcheck.org. I use media bias fact checker. So if I'm unfamiliar with a journalistic entity, I would recommend, although I'm not sponsored, although I'd like to be, Straight Arrow News and Ground News, because they even do an analysis of the coverage of a particular story as to how someone's talking about it, and they give you the bias literally within the story. You're looking for objective journalism. So when court records are available, that's where I go. When witness testimonies are available, that's where I go. When the congressional record, statements from the congressional members of Congress, not the opinion from a chairman of the Oversight Committee, for example, but witness testimony in front of Congress. That's why congressional records are so important. So the list that I use AP, I use NPR, I use PBS, I use Reuters, I use ABC, I use Al Jazeera, I use BBC. Those are the ones that, for me, have been the most consistent. Because not only do they fact check themselves, but their journalists are considered some of the best. And if they do make a mistake, they are quick to point it out, not buried on the back page. Similarly, I'll use court documents if possible. I will use witness statements if possible. I'll use arrest records. I'll use video. Those kinds of things are really pivotal. You can't just trust, even people on the left, you can't just trust one source. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Okay. Good morning, friend.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm so good. I just read what you posted in the mod chat. I won't say anything, though, but that's freaking hilarious.
Oh. That's how my morning went. Hey,
hilarious.
How do I turn on my camera? Yes. How do I turn on my camera? Yeah.
I'll send you the invite. Does it not look like you have camera access?
Oh, I don't?
Did you just get the invite from me?
Yeah. Hang on.
There you go.
Hey, there I am.
There you go.
This is my first time on camera.
I love it. Hi there.
Hi. Hi, everybody.
So Cabin Mom is one of our mods. In fact, Cabin Mom and I go way back. Like you were like on the early mod team. So you've been dealing with my nonsense for a long time now. So thank you for being here and for everything you do.
Yeah, it's been over a year now. So
yeah. Been longer than that. It's been crazy. What you got?
I just wanted to come up and do a little mod announcement in case everybody wasn't listening.
I'm gonna take a quick break. Be right back.
In case everybody wasn't listening this morning or you weren't here at the time, I just want to let everybody know that we did reach our fundraising goal to get Facts the equipment he needs to move over to YouTube, which is awesome. 2 days and you guys banged out that goal and that was perfect. Wonderful. So we are so excited about that. And yesterday I wanted to come up, but I didn't get up here. And I just wanted to offer a few suggestions of things that you can do in your own community to help feed the children or feed families that may be in need. One thing is in case you don't know, there are things called a little free pantry or a blessings box that are put around in different areas of towns. I know of at least one in my town, but they're around. You can just check them. If there's something you're not going to use in your house, put it in there and people who need it can come and take it. Sometimes it might be a kid walking home from school that I know our one is near a library. And it, put something small in there and if a family needs it, they can use it. Or if you need it, just take that. So they're called the Little Free Pantry or the Blessings Box. You can Google them and find out where they are in your area. And also another thing I wanted to suggest was to organize a food drive. You can do it through maybe your kid's school or your work or your community center or any kind of group. And because we're coming up on the holiday season, there's always a bigger need so that families can celebrate. And I know that food pantries are hurting some right now, so if you could organize a food drive within your community and donate it to a local place near you, that would be awesome just to help them out because there are going to be families that need help at this time. I mean, there's families that need help all the time, but with the holidays coming up, you want to make that as best as you can. So anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Offer those 2 suggestions, little things you can do to help out that maybe don't take a lot of effort or a lot of money, but can make a difference in families' lives. So that's all I had for today.
Thank you for your huge heart. I love you, friend. You ready? You ready for your journey?
Thanks. Yep, I'm ready. Whee!
Okay. Hold on. Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm going to try to keep it together here. Your unbelievable kindness is something I will never forget. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Well, listen, I wish I could do more. And I know that you reach more people than I can. And it's just so important. And, I talk about this a lot, that I would not be able to go to my grave knowing that this was happening in my country and I didn't do everything and anything that I could. And honestly, every penny that I gave to you yesterday was absolutely worth it to you than the work you do and to try and save my country.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
I appreciate that.
I didn't come up here for that, but thank you very much. And if I can help more, I'm happy to do so. But the reason that I came up today is because I had a very interesting conversation with one of the ICU intensivists about the Tylenol debacle. And, one of the things that I completely forgot was about this is going to cause women to have more miscarriages. Because, and I'll tell you why, in utero, babies do not use their lungs. They have holes in their hearts called the
ductus arteriosus and the foramen ovale, which bypasses the lungs so the oxygenated blood gets to their body. But when a baby is born with a hole that's left open, we give high dose ibuprofen to close the hole up, and it does. So with moms not taking Tylenol and not taking aspirin for bleeding problems, and they're taking ibuprofen, that's going to cause the holes to close prematurely. And then babies are going to unalive in utero, causing women to have miscarriages. And then, of course, now you have the issue with abortion and not being able to get what they need for healthcare. This is just more of an attack on women than people realize. It's not just about Tylenol anymore.
Yeah, we discussed that before about how, I mean, people who are in your profession, you're an ICU nurse, so thank you for all that in general. But people in your position, in your profession now, what are they supposed to do? I mean, you're hearing directives from the public health professionals about the safety of this or this is not safe. I just feel horrible. But you're right. It's all about controlling women. It's all about trying to blame women for decisions that they make. I think the scenario that I pointed out the other day, imagine a pregnant mom standing at the counter in a CVS, taking a bottle of acetaminophen off the shelf, and then the dirty looks that she gets from other people in the CVS or in the Walgreens. That's where I feel like it's going. Right?
So the best thing that we can do is educate, and the medical professionals that I work with are educating. From what I understand, this is not going to be pulled off the market. It's going to have an additional marking on the label. And I just want everybody to know that, it's a bunch of bullshit. Okay, it's bullshit, and we have the evidence and science to prove it, and it's safe, and anything else you need for pain is dangerous to you while you're pregnant, and it's dangerous to the fetus. So please, please, please trust science and not Kankles McGee.
Good call. Oh, cool. That's awesome. Thank you. Wow. Nice. Thank you. That was pretty sweet. Kankles McGee. I love that. Anything else for people who are really freaking out right now, Jen? Any other words of advice aside from trust your doctor, trust the medical professionals? Yeah.
So I'm not going to go too much into it because I can go into statistics, which is weird because I hated that class so much.
You and me both.
The Mount Sinai and Harvard studies they're quoting are highly, highly flawed when you look at it. The one you need to read is the Swedish one. It has 2.5 million children, including siblings, that found no association. And on top of that, we talked about that yesterday. The doctor also told us that children in those studies, in that is specific study that had vaccines, had less incidence of neurodivergence as well.
Right. Yeah, we've cited that Swedish study when we talked about this the other day. So you're right. Again, thank you for what you do. Thank you for who you are, and again, what you did for us. I love you, friend. I really appreciate you very much.
Love you back. Thank you for all you're doing for my country, and my son's in the military, so I appreciate that as well. So you're amazing.
I got you, friend. Everybody, hearts in the chat for Jen, please, everybody. For everything, but everything in all of it. So I love you, friend. Have a good day. Be safe out there. Okay.
All right. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye. Amazing. Yeah. For those of us who are out here talking about the kinds of things that we talk about, I've been very transparent about the things that matter to me, right? I believe every human being on earth should have the right to health care, food, water, and shelter. Those simple things. And we talk about them in simplest terms. It just blows me away that food, health care, shelter, and water are political issues. So we go down this road, people saying, oh, we can't feed people. That's a bridge too far. And I know a lot of it comes down to the fact that white Christian nationalists in our country don't want to give free lunches in schools because that means that little black children, little brown children, or kids that grow up in same-sex households, that means that they would get it too. And that's a bridge too far. But anyway, thank you, Jen. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate you. All right. So we discussed the absolute corruption that is happening in the Department of Justice. We talked about this in terms of what the lengths to which they are going to try to protect predators. Mike Johnson, man of God, attempting to slow roll potentially this recently elected member of Congress that would give them enough votes to have the discharge petition. Senate Republicans are going to do what? We've got the government fight, the government shutdown fight. And don't forget, Republicans attempting to blame this on Democrats. Democrats are like, listen, all we're asking for is that you continue the tax credits that were already there for the ACA and peel back some of the money that you took from SNAP and Medicare, Medicaid. And Republicans are like, oh, we can't do that. We can't let illegals get health care. We can't let the poor families in the rural states that vote for us get food. Can't do that. So finally, I'm not sure if it's osmosis. Maybe somebody watches my lives. Maybe they're like, maybe we should be a little bit more aggressive with our messaging. You fucking think? Maybe you should. Maybe be a little bit more aggressive with your messaging. Maybe just a little bit. Try that. Might help. Kim, how are you this morning? Kim, are you there? Hello, Kim? I guess not. Okay. Guess not. Good morning, Chelsea. How are you today?
I am doing all right. How are you, my silver facts?
I'm fine. Thanks for asking. What's on your mind?
I have a question for you. So I am dual, currently living in Canada, and my father, who was a Navy veteran, recently passed in May. So we're sorting out all the Social Security, everything like that. And of course, my mom gets survivor's death benefits, whatever, from his Navy pension. And when we were doing the paperwork and everything, they made us sign up for Medicaid or Medicare. I can't remember which one. There was a lot of paperwork. I am wondering why we should be getting that. And we did try to argue with them that that's not a good use of their money because we live in Canada. We have health care. We don't live there. We won't be going there. If we are going there to visit friends, family, whatever the case may be, we have our own insurance through the country that we live in. And I'm just wondering how that exactly works when they're cutting so many people off who actually need and deserve this and are residents of the United States, for us to take over these benefits that we do not need and will not use.
Is your question, why are they cutting services? I'm not sure if I understand your question, Chelsea.
Well, my question is why are they firstly cutting it for people in the U.S., but then forcing us to take it, like, here, you must have this now, when we don't even live in the U.S. and are covered in the country we live in?
So you're talking people who have dual citizenship. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
So it's probably a bit of a small, minority. I think the only way I can answer your question is based on what we know about domestic policy, that the right has never been interested in anything other than the private health insurance system that we have now, and so the corporations can enrich themselves. We have a for-profit health insurance company or health insurance industry that's going to be $1 trillion in profit. We'll spend $4 trillion as a country, and we still don't have everybody insured. So it's a money grab, like everything else.
It just seems so ludicrous to me. Like, keep your health insurance over there. We're covered over here. We're good if something happens.
Yeah.
Why are you going to, then force this onto us? Those resources are much better spent to the people who actually in your country deserve to have health care. Don't worry about us. We're good. We're not there.
Yeah, again, like I said before, the fact that we have to argue over food, healthcare, water, and shelter is just wild. But thanks for jumping in today. I appreciate your support. As always, Chelsea.
Thank
Thanks
you
for being
so
here.
much. Have an excellent rest of your day.
Thank you. You too. See you later. It's a fair question. And there's so many layers to all of it. But you know, why are we fighting over food? Who the fuck knows? You canceled your health insurance. Why would you do that? That's weird. Can I get some glasses that fit my face? These glasses don't fit my face. I think they fit. Nuvia, you're not there. You can request again. Okay, and one more person in the box, and then we'll get back to our topic. Jordan's mom, how are you today?
I'm fine. How are you?
Fine, thank you. What's on your mind?
What's on my mind? Free speech. Free speech. I never thought the day would come when I would have to gauge what I say in every space, whether it be in the supermarket, whether it be in the mall, whether it be at a tea with ladies, whether it's at brunch. You have to really gauge what you say. You have to suppress your opinions. I never thought that that would happen in this country. I have lived here for practically my entire life. And I have always, always, always given thanks for being born in this country where my choices as a woman were my own. My father didn't pick my husband for me. Nobody told me where to work or where to live. I've always been able to exercise free will to a great extent. I never imagined the moment would arrive when all of that would be so swiftly taken away from us. I think that I am in a type of shock, and I wonder if other people are too. I also never imagined in all of my studies and all of my nosiness about history, I never knew how truly fragile democracy was. I never knew that all it took was for people to say nothing.
Correct. Say nothing and do nothing.
Yes,
yeah, Jordan, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you're fine. No, you're fine, sir.
Now, I was going to say, you're absolutely right. And I think what we're witnessing now is not normal, and we can't allow it to become normalized. And my hope for people after we get through this, because we will get through it, things will be differently, but for people to realize that maybe they took our right to free speech for granted, or our right to peacefully petition the government for granted, or the ability to defend the things that are important to us for granted. The system that we have, because democracy only functions, this is one of the cracks potentially in all democracies. It requires people to have integrity, right? It requires people to be ethically driven, to abide by what the rules of the democracy are. And sadly, people who are in charge of, who are in power now, just don't give a shit. They just do not care. We become, I've said this before, I'm not sure how many lives you've been in with me, Jordan, but we deserved Donald Trump. We as a nation. We didn't learn our lessons the first time. We became apathetic. People on the left became entitled, looking for a perfect candidate. We became lazy, not involved, and this is what you get. This is how fascism happens. There's an authoritarian playbook. This is what's happened. So the question is, what are we going to do about it?
So this is one of the reasons that I follow you, because you're one of the few people who acknowledges there's a lot of blame on both sides. I always say that democracy is not a spectator sport. You cannot watch from the sidelines. You cannot.
Correct. One of my favorite lines.
Yes,
one of my favorite lines. Yes. Mm-hmm.
And you cannot enjoy the freedoms that a democracy affords you and never put skin in the game. That is not how it works. What I have seen in my experience as an advocate and as a person, as a woman, as a American citizen who has lived abroad, what I have seen is people who enjoy free speech weaponize it. They say whatever extraordinary thing they want to say, whatever inflammatory thing they want to say, but they don't want anybody else to be able to be as equally inflammatory or to be honest. We are also inherently selfish in this country. And when you add that selfishness to the other problems that we had, it leads to this. You want to elevate your ideas above everybody else. And the people who are least qualified, who are least educated, they have banded together and created a type of anti-intellectualism where you say that people who are well-spoken are now elites. Everybody who has put in the work, now you're claiming they are the enemy, and you are sliding into positions. You're oppressing everybody, sliding into positions based on DEI. Isn't that the very reason why you fired people in the first place? Because you said they didn't have merit or qualifications, but you, who were a Fox News host, are now the leader of the Department of Defense. What is this, Alice in Wonderland? Is this the Hunger Games? What in the world is going on? The other thing I noticed, and I noticed this some years ago, and I'm so curious as to what you think about it. Years ago, I noticed on platforms like CNN and such, I noticed this tendency to overtalk and interrupt people. And I said, there's too many people doing this. There's something to it. And then one day, I saw an interview with Donald Trump, and this lady was talking to him, and he didn't like what she was saying, so he kept saying, "Excuse me, excuse me, excuse me." And I said, there it is. They use these little clips and digs to abbreviate the truth, to obscure somebody else's intellect and truth, and to agitate you into becoming, somebody who's performative, because they don't want to allow you to finish their idea. Who wants to be cut off? And the whole purpose of free speech is for me to be able to have my say. The whole purpose of debate is for me to be able to completely and thoroughly present my idea uninterrupted. And when you interrupt me and abbreviate my thought, you derail my logic. This has been a movement for a very long time, and we have not witnessed it coming. Now that we have been hit by the train, we have to sew ourselves up, stand up, and find a way to get rid of the coal supply.
I could not agree with you more. I talk about this in terms of how democracy is not a spectator sport. You have to get involved. Apathy is where democracies go to die. And your strategy and what you're talking about. I look at people claim like there's debate space on TikTok. It's not debate. What happens here is not debate. As somebody who was in debate club in high school and debate club in college, and I've served in government, so I've done debates. This isn't debate. But the point you're bringing up is very, very valid. When we attempt to have conversations here and have an intellectual conversation with people about issues that affect all of us, there's an unwilling, from my perspective, an unwillingness from the opposition. When they're backed into a corner, they do exactly what you just described. They will talk over, they'll yell. Same thing that happens, they follow the lead. I mean, Mr. Trump he's really good at it. I mean, I'll be objective and say that he's really good at that. He's really good at taking control of the conversation. And that message has then permeated to other people in those spaces. And I think it's 31 people who used to work at Fox News are now involved in his government. Think about that. An institution that got sued for $750 million lost, and members of that cult are part of the cult. So, you bring up some just really, really, really important points about how going forward, what does this look like? Stop taking things for granted. Stop being apathetic. The left has a tendency to be entitled. The left has a tendency to look for perfect candidates. And I want to win elections because I want a progressive government. I want rights protected. I want health care. I want public education overfunded. And I have to use the Democratic Party as public transportation to get there.
So, and let me say this, because I may never have the privilege to sit here again in this seat. Let me say this. There's not a whole lot I disagree with you on. What you've just said, I'm in total agreement. But I would expand the conversation further to say this. The Democratic Party has to adopt a new philosophy, not just new message, a new philosophy. Number one, all of this wanting the young people to be the energy, the grassroots to help you elevate yourself and reposition yourself, you need to compensate those people. You need to stop it with this idea that it's volunteerism. People are struggling in this life. And in order for us to get back our country, the party, the Democratic Party, needs to employ the young people who put in the work and who have the fabulous ideas and the technological savvy to do what needs to be done. I propose that we write letters to Van Jones, because wasn't Van Jones given millions of dollars to promote democracy? And what have I seen come out of Van Jones and all of those dollars? Nothing but him crying. Why not hold people accountable? Hakeem Jeffries, stop talking to me out both sides of your mouth. Let me tell you something, brother. Pick a side. You know what I'm saying? Own it and stand on it. If you're not who you say you are, you need to be honest about that and get the packing. Move out of the way. Everybody who's over the age of 60 and not doing what the hell you're supposed to be doing, writing things on paper, you have your staff doing your digital media, you need to move over. Part of how this is supposed to be done is you're supposed to mentor somebody so that if something happens to you, there's a smooth transition and your platform, your ideas, you know what I'm saying, your way of thinking, it lives on through somebody else. Your mentorship lives on in a person tutored by you. We don't do that. We're now selfish and holding on to something until we're walking around the Capitol with in scooters. We're remote doing votes because we can't get around and do the walking up the steps. That lets you know you need to concede and train somebody else to come up behind you. We're no different than the other side. If we lose and cheat democracy,
You still
no
there,
different
Troy?
than the other side. It's just that our weapon is different.
I would challenge a little bit of what you said there. Like I do believe there is a fundamental difference between conservatives and liberals in today's body politic. Like I've said before, the right promotes the billionaire class, and the left doesn't do enough to defend the middle class. But from an ideological perspective, we know that any progress we've ever made has come from progressive liberals in our country, and we've not made enough. So yes, I agree. There's issues with the two-party system without question, and I'm very critical of status quo Democrats because I say you're either progressive or conservative, and there are conservatives that live on the left as well. People have to understand that. But I think it's different. I think what we've seen recently is that the right falls in line, and Democrats fall in love. And I want more falling in line. I want the Democratic Party to start to listen to voices like Zohran Mamdani and progressive voices that are down ballot, so that we can build a bench, like you said, and talk about the things. I mean, politics is a dirty business. Idealistically, from an ideological perspective, the majority of Americans believe what liberals believe, that we should have that women should have rights to their body, that we should be funding public education, that we should have access to health care and firearms reform. The overwhelming majority of Americans believe that, but we've not had the best messengers. And I'm with you. That's got to change. I don't always agree with the both sides argument. I know what you mean by that, but there's certainly an opportunity to for the Democrats to do more.
I don't disagree with anything you put forward. I think that there is definitely some work to be done, but I also think that I would add something to that. Not only should you support the younger people, the different candidates that are coming up, I think you should protect them. Now to enroll in an election to run for a seat, it comes with different dangers than it ever has, and so those people should be protected in the ways that we can protect them. We should be able to protect their families. We should be able to insulate them online. We should have these tools in place. What I can say to you is this: I've been doing a little bit of research, and I'm appalled. I'm going to say this again. I'm appalled that there are so many places where there are not even Democratic meetings held on a monthly basis. In the midst of this Democratic crisis, there's not even these meetings being held by the party from a national scale to a local scale. How is this possible? Do you not see that the house is on fire? We should be meeting every week, even if it's remotely, to have conversations, to plan strategy, to air out, and share information about who's running where and what they can be done. These websites needs to be set up. That's why I said people like Van Jones need to be held accountable. Because what are you doing? What are you doing? We need more than a rally. You need work to be put in. It takes time. So it is now September, and what have we put in place? People should have time to really thoroughly vet any candidates. The candidates should have time to train themselves, to practice the debates, because it's a different environment. You have to learn how to present the ideas you want to present in a hostile environment. That's never been the case before. All of that requires time. Time is ticking, and I feel like we're doing almost nothing.
Yeah, that's a fair point. There are candidate training programs that do exist, but we don't hear about them enough, and it's not something that's publicized. It's something that I think the DNC should message around that, to say this is what we are doing to address the fact, because a lot of Republicans in Congress right now have their seats because they ran unopposed. That can't happen anymore. That just can't happen. I don't know if you're in our Discord, but would you consider joining our Discord, Jordan's mom, because it's been great It's been great talking to you because you and I are aligned on so many things about what we want to see. Like we like I said, we've deserved what we got with Donald Trump because we were apathetic, lazy, and entitled. And of course, the right's a cult. There's no denying that. But the left has not done enough to preserve democracy. We took it for granted. And I hope that all of us will understand that once we get through this, because we will. I believe in that. I believe we will get through this. But it's going to look different. And the question is, what are we going to do about it? That's my hope.
Listen, I'm so honored
fabulous.
that you would ask me. Of course, I would be happy to join your Discord.
Please do so.
Tell me what I need to do.
We'll reach out to you. You got it. So one of my mods will probably reach out to you. Or if you just go to the link that's in the link tree in my bio, you'll see join the Facts Discord server and just follow the appropriate steps. It's just for verification. It's free to join. But you're amazing. It's really good to talk. It's really good to talk to you. Really appreciate it.
You're so kind. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a lovely day. Thanks a lot for being here. It's awesome. My gosh, we need more people like that. Mods, you guys got that? Thank you. Appreciate y'all. That's the kind of energy that we need. So again, I think it's really important, and I'll take a little detour here. I think it's really important to understand that ideologically speaking, right, the majority of Americans believe liberal-leaning policies. They believe that we should be doing something about firearm reform. They believe that we should be doing something about cost of goods and inflation. What are we going to do economically? The overwhelming majority of people believe that women should have right to their body, that the government should be out of their business. Those are things that are part of Democrat liberal policies, right? That's part of it. So the problem is that education reform, exactly, all those things are and again, not enough. And I think I've come to the conclusion recently that yes, it's not a both sides argument, but the right writes economic policy to benefit the billionaire class, and the left doesn't do enough to defend the middle class. And there's room there. Right? There's nuance there. There's room in between those two spaces, because again, all the movement in our society, which is let me land this plane first. All the movement in our society from civil rights reform has always come from progressives. Always, it's always come from progressives. Progressives don't live on the right. By definition, conservatism is not progressive. It's just not the case. So to get the reason that the Democratic Party, in my opinion, it's not seen as favorable, although the gap is getting narrower and narrower and narrower. It used to be about a 7-point lead that the Republicans had. I think it's down to 2, which is inside the margin of error. It's not because people don't like what the Democrats and liberals stand for. It's because they don't see enough action. They don't see enough aggressiveness. I wrote the fucking script for them. I should have knocked on the door of the DNC and say, here, do this. It's in my Substack. You can find it. I wrote what it should look like and how you should do it. I think that's what they're waiting for. I'm lying? Okay, MAGA forever. Sure, I'm lying. That's what they're waiting for. People want what liberals stand for. By and large, the majority in our country, and there's no denying that. There's just not enough. There's just not enough energy. Like, let's perfect scenario: the government shutdown. I told you guys at the beginning of the summer. We knew this was coming. They should be messaging on it right fucking now. So MAGA Republicans beat them to the punch. They called it the Schumer shutdown. Finally, they got some responses saying this is on the government. All the Democrats want is to protect healthcare for millions of Americans. It's the first time they've responded. 3 days, 4 days, 5 days away from the government shutting down. Too late, but better late than never in this case. And I agree with our former caller. I mean, I've been so disappointed by Hakeem Jeffries. So disappointed. I get politics. I understand. I get it. But just, you got to start listening to the progressive wing of your party, my guy. You really do. You really got to start listening, because that will help all of us. There's not an economic or social argument that can be made against universal health care. If you can find one, I will delete my account and you'll never see me again. I can say that confidently because I know there is nothing. Why the fuck are we not funding public health and food programs? The right doesn't want to do it. The left does. Own that shit. Own it. Message to it. Democrats want to feed kids. MAGA Republicans want children to starve. There's your bumper sticker. MAGA Republicans want people to die because they don't want to fund insurance. There's your bumper sticker. Throw that fucking shit right in their damn faces. It's so easy. It's like the easiest messaging you could ever imagine. MAGA Republicans want to starve kids. MAGA Republicans want to starve children. It's not misinformation, MAGA forever. It's the truth. Your party's the one that cut SNAP benefits, period. $280 billion. You expect the states to fund it. Your poor-ass states that can't pay their own bills now, where are they going to get the money from? Good luck. MAGA Republicans hate women. MAGA Republicans hate the queer community. MAGA Republicans hate democracy. MAGA Republicans are fascists. Yeah, total lies. We'll see. We'll see if they take my advice. I have no faith that they will, but anyway. All right, just a couple more little things here. I got some more folks that are requesting, and we'll probably try to get to many guests this weekend today. It's like we always do, but there's just some sound that we need to hear. Megyn Kelly is trying to capitalize on Charlie Kirk's death, along with a lot of other people, by inserting herself into Turning Point USA kinds of events. Not the same type of events that Charlie did, but she's going on college campuses, and she is getting hammered. And I want to call out this young gentleman. I don't know his name. I'd love to find out his name because I think it was great. So I just would like you to, it's not just how she answers the question, it's little cues within the answers to her question. So she's confronted by right-wing rhetoric. Actually, before I play that for you, let me play this.
Hatred has no place in the United States of America under President Donald Trump.
I hate my opponent. And I don't want the best for them. I hate my opponent. And I don't want the best for them.
Hatred has no place in the United States of America under President Donald Trump.
I hate my opponent. And I don't want the best for them. I hate my opponent. And I don't want the best for them.
Okay, we got that. You hate your opponent. So then when Megyn Kelly goes out on the road, she references that statement that the president made. By the way, he said that at the eulogy for Charlie. Okay? Charlie wanted everybody to get along and wanted the best for everybody. I don't. I hate my opponent. Okay. So this is Megyn Kelly being confronted.
Why you support a president who contributes to the rhetoric that got your friend Charlie killed. We saw his rally recently. He said, "I hate my enemies." Stephen Miller said similar things. How can you support him when he contributed to what got Charlie killed?
Assumes facts, not evidence. What you said is not true.
70% of political violence is committed by Republicans.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Look it up.
That's not true.
Conservatives, just to be clear, far-right conservatives.
DOJ just pulled it. The DOJ just pulled it from their website. DOJ just pulled the study from their website because they're delusional.
That's not true because
they just pulled.
Listen to this answer. She's saying that, first of all, we know the information is true. We know the Department of Justice pulled it. I can even cite the numbers. 227 incidences of political-related violence committed by the right since 1990, leading to 570 deaths, compared to 42 on the left, leading to 78 deaths. We have the information. We have the data. We know it. We know it. So I want you to listen to her answer when she's confronted with this.
They just pulled the study from their website because they're delusional.
That's not true because
they just pulled it. Look it up.
Once you pulled
it from their website.
Once you pull the crazies out of there, it is overwhelmingly left-wing violence.
Once you pull the crazies out of there, it's the left. What? Once you here it is again.
Look it up.
Once you pull
pulled it from their website.
Once you pull the crazies out of there, it is overwhelmingly left-wing violence.
Google it.
We have had
every single person in the audience. Google it right now.
Wow.
You know, this is how we get here. So first of all, let me take on the first part of the premise of your question, that it was President Trump's rhetoric that led to an assassin killing our friend Charlie Kirk. That's a blatant lie.
That's not what he said.
It's defamatory, blaspheme, and it's inappropriate in the setting.
That's not what I said.
That's not what he said.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
I said he contributed to the political atmosphere.
Listen to what he said again. Listen to what he said again.
Support a president who contributes to the rhetoric that got your friend Charlie killed.
Thank you.
We saw his rally recently. Google it.
We have had
every single person in the
understand.
audience. Google it right now.
You know, this is how we get here. So first of all, let me take on the first part of the premise of your question, that it was President Trump's rhetoric that led to an assassin.
That's not what he said.
Killing our friend Charlie Kirk. That's a blatant lie. It's a defamatory blaspheme, and it's inappropriate in the setting.
That's not what I said.
We know. Yes, it is.
No, I said he contributed to the political atmosphere.
Well, then you have no point.
tension.
Then your point is utterly empty. We're contributing to the atmosphere. This guy was, no, let's just make clear. Let's just make clear. This guy was motivated by leftist ideology.
Okay, let's talk about that. As we've gone through this exercise, right? This was radicalized by left-wing ideology. That's their argument, okay? So I spent a lot of time going through this, and there's so many conspiracies connected to it. I'm not going to focus on those. I'm going to form my own opinions on that, and at some point I'm probably going to write about it because it's necessary. Right now, though, we focus on what we know. We know that the statements from his mother's family, who's speaking, that was Megyn Kelly. Thank you, Anthony's for asking. That's Megyn Kelly. She's, you know, Megyn Kelly. She used to be on Fox. She's, you know her. She's got her own show. She's completely wacky. Although she's been calling for the release of the Epstein files too. So anyway, the claim that she made, he was radicalized by left-wing ideology. So let's talk about that for a second. He grew up LDS, Latter-day Saints. He grew up Mormon. His family, hardcore conservatives. His family, his community, his church, thus his culture, said that homosexuality is an abomination, that you should literally be just not even exist. You can't take sacrament in your church if you identify as such. So he went to one of the most conservative colleges in America, top 10 or top 15, depending on your ranking, but one of the most conservative colleges in America. He was there for a semester, and then he went to a trade school. Okay? His mother said he became, I forget the exact quote, but I'll paraphrase it, but he became radicalized and or indoctrinated by left-leaning ideologies and pro-gay and pro-trans. Of course they're going to say that. Of course they are, because they believe that that's radical. So that would say that conservatives don't think that gay people should exist. So the radicalization that they're attempting to use, the radicalization from my perspective was their own family, his own community. Radicalized to think that people might love someone different. I believe, this is my opinion only for educational purposes, TikTok, is that he was starting to realize his own sexuality. And he did not feel safe in his own family to express it. Certainly didn't feel safe in his church, didn't even feel safe in his own home. So of course his mother was going to say, well, he became influenced by left-leaning radical ideologies, which is exactly what Megyn Kelly's talking about here. You're constantly making people look behind instead of fixers in front of them. I am? Okay, whatever. That's my opinion. So the radicalization, no. He realized that I've been told to hate all these people. Why? I've been told to hate people just because they're different? Why? Why? So his mother making that statement, the right jumped on that, saying, see, he's radicalized. No. No, he was radicalized by his faith, by his community, by his own family that wouldn't accept him if, in fact, he started to realize his own sexuality. Lies that they told about him, lies that they told about his partner, roommate, we don't even know definitively. All lies. The claims that his roommate was trans, we don't know. More likely femboy. He found a community on Discord and other group chats of people with a variety of sexualities. And like, these people are great. They're kind to me. They're nice to me. They support me for who I am. That's radicalization? Just saying. So this is that statement again from Megyn Kelly.
We know it from the bullet casings.
He contributed to the political atmosphere.
Well, then you have no point. Then your point is utterly empty. Contributing to the atmosphere. This guy was, no, let's just make clear. This guy was motivated by leftist ideology. We know it from the bullet casings. We know it from the Utah governor. We know it from his own mother. Yes, we do. Let's be really clear on that.
No, we don't.
Even if that's true, so then you're saying because, let's say this guy's a leftist, even if that's true, does that make it okay for the sitting president of the United States to incite violence against liberals?
The President of the United States has not accepted violence against liberals. The President of the United States made a joke at the Charlie Kirk Memorial.
So the President of the United States made a joke at the Charlie Kirk Memorial. Is that a place to tell jokes? Is that really, so we're going to do that? We're going to just tell jokes? So this is what he said again, just for people.
Hatred has no place in the United States of America under President Donald Trump.
I hate my opponent. And I don't want the best for them. I hate my opponent.
So that's a joke? And you use Charlie Kirk's funeral to tell that joke? So has it been a joke every other time, Megan, when he's called people on the left the enemies of the state and they're vile and they're evil people? Were they all jokes too?
Which was funny and self-deprecating. It was on the
Funny and self-deprecating.
heels of Erica Kirk saying she, in an extraordinary moment,
Oh my God.
forgave her husband's killer.
And
let me finish. And then President Trump got up and making a joke, playing off of what Erica said. He said, we disagree. I need to do better. Erica's going to try to convince me, but I'm in a different place.
Never said
and
that.
That's completely normal for a politician
Never said
to
that.
be thinking about his political fights. And by the way,
Wow.
Trump has every right to loathe his enemies. They tried to put him in jail for the rest of his life.
Because
They
he's a
tried
criminal.
to bankrupt him. They tried to put his family in jail.
He's a criminal.
And they tried to kill him.
Criminal. Jack Smith.
Wait. Okay, now you go.
Thank you for your time.
She got cooked. She absolutely got cooked. I wish, young man, I don't know who you are, dude, but fucking thanks for bringing it. That's how you call truth to power. The three things that really stood out for me from that is when she said, if you take the crazies out from the right, then the left has more political violence. Acknowledging that the right has more political violence. I want to play that one piece again.
So what got Charlie killed?
Assumes facts, not evidence. What you said is not true.
70% of political violence is committed by Republicans.
It's true.
Okay.
Look it up.
Far-right Republicans,
DOJ just
extremists.
pulled it. The DOJ just pulled it from
true.
their website.
It's true.
DOJ just pulled the study from their website because they're delusional.
It's true.
That's not true because
They just pulled it. Look it up.
Once you
the
pull
DOJ pulled it from their website.
Once you
Go
pull
ahead.
the crazies out of there, it is overwhelmingly left-wing violence.
Once you pull the crazies out of there. What? Okay. He just absolutely destroyed her. I want to play an interview now that Chris Wray, because I was like, God damn it. There was an interview, and yes, Gary Peters interviewed Christopher Wray back in 2021 on the topic of politically oriented violence. And this is what he had to say. Chris Wray, appointed by Donald Trump, by the way, in the first administration.
According to the FBI, domestic terrorists killed 39 people in fiscal year 2019, making it the most deadly year for domestic terrorism since the
2019. Who was president?
1995 Oklahoma City bombing. My question to you, Mr. Ray, is how would you characterize the domestic terrorist threat posed by white supremacists?
So first I would say that domestic terrorism generally, in particular self-radicalized, typically lone actors here, represents a serious, persistent threat. I think we had about 107 domestic terrorism arrests in fiscal year 19, which is close to the same number that we had on the international terrorism front. Within the domestic terrorism group, and we have about, at any given time, the number fluctuates, but at any given time, we have about 1,000, sometimes it's closer to 900, sometimes it's above 1,000 domestic terrorism investigations. A huge chunk of those domestic terrorism investigations involve racially motivated, violent, extremist motivated terrorist attacks. And the majority of those, of the racially motivated, violent, extremist attacks, are fueled by some kind of white supremacy. And I would say that the most lethal activity over the last few years has been committed by those type of attackers.
So what have we just learned? Right? What have we just learned? Well, we've learned what we already have known, that the overwhelming majority of politically oriented violence since 1990 comes from the right. Hi, Deb. Comes from the right. We know that. Megyn Kelly even acknowledged it. If you take out the crazies, then it's the left. Did she think that that was a win? Like that's a flex? Notice she didn't bother to, she didn't even bother to address the fact that, well, I should say she acknowledged the fact that the overwhelming majority of political violence comes from the right. So who are the crazies? So Chris Wray, again, a pretty well-respected, bipartisanly supported FBI director, somebody who was actually competent in the job, someone who's actually quite good at their job, right? Who was a Republican, by the way, said, listen, it's white supremacy. We know this. The same study that I've cited numerous times, National Institute of Justice, the Department of Justice, the FBI, DHS, Anti-Defamation League, Southern Poverty Law Council, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The fact that you're saying white supremacy is a conservative movement is crazy in itself. Okay, yep. Okay. I didn't say it. I'm just telling you that it's connected to far-right extremists. 3%ers, Oath Keepers, etc. Neo-Yazis. Ever seen a neo-Yazi march down the streets of American cities? Ever notice the complexion of their skin? Yeah, it seems to be one particular shade. Just saying. So Chris Wray even talks about it. So we've got all the evidence, all the data, all the evidence points to exactly far-right extremism, and even Megyn Kelly herself. Even Megyn Kelly herself acknowledges that by saying, once you take out the crazies. So how many crazies do we need to take out? So it's exponential. 220 incidences compared to 37, I think is the number. So how many crazies? Should we take out just enough crazies to get that number under 37 to make your argument work? Like, find me a radical left organization that marches down the street. Must be a gay pride parade, right? That's probably the thing that you're really triggered by. Or a women's march. Or the pink hat gathering. Who's the leader of Antifa? Could be me today. Could be somebody else tomorrow. Who's the leader? Who's the leader? Yeah, what political, exactly. Triple K. What political party would they affiliate with? Okay, yep. Send you an invite. Come up. I'll explain it to you. You're going to have to listen. You don't know what Dixiecrats are. You don't know the party switch. You don't know the Southern strategy. You have no idea because you haven't bothered to read history. So I'll tell it to you. The Triple K created by conservatives. People like Jesse Helms, segregationists. People like Strom Thurmond, segregationists, who were disenfranchised by progressive leaning ideology in the modern day Democratic Party. So they became Republicans. Who does the Triple K support now? The same group of people that they supported then. Conservatives. Just look at the electoral map. Where do you see Confederate flags flying? Who do you see? Who did David Duke support for the presidency? See, this is the history that you guys don't want to talk about. This is exactly my point. You don't want to talk about history. You, like Lindsay Halligan, think slavery is, we can talk about slavery as long as we talk about the plus side. People in your party think that slavery was fine because it taught enslaved black people some skills. Just look at the electoral map. Look at the shift. The blue wall, the traditionally Democratic states used to be red. The map flipped. Southern states used to be blue. And then people in the Democratic Party are like, this is getting a little crazy here. What the fuck are we doing? And then conservatives left the party. And they became Republicans. That's the truth. I don't care if you don't like it. It's not my problem. You want to bring up the Triple K? Bring it up. Bring it up. We can, what we can do? We can find a historical picture. Do I even have it? It's probably so. I don't even know if I have it anymore. I probably don't. There's a famous picture of a Triple K rally with the America First sign in front of them. YT supremacists saying the Jews will not replace us. Crimes against marginalized communities perpetrated by the alt-right. Conservatives. Stand back and stand by. A rallying cry from the president himself. Candidate at the time. President himself. Stand back and stand by to whom? Stand back and stand by to white supremacist organizations like the far right, the alt-right. The overwhelming majority of crimes. Politically oriented. Comes from the right. January 6th. Capitol insurrection. And yes, it was. This right here. What's that? What's that? Does that statement ring a bell? Yep. Does that statement ring a bell to you? Does that ring a bell? Can you read that? What does that say? You think they ironed those before their rally? One God, one country, one flag. Crazy, right? Crazy how those things work. But that's too real. Like, you don't want to talk about that, do you? Where was I? Hold on. Where was I? For Sam. We love Sam. It's another one. America for whites. Nothing to see here, though, right? Nothing to see here. You can try to run away from history all you want. I'm not going to let you. Our community's not going to let you. You can try to run away from this as much as you want. As much as you want. Do you hear Democrats using slogans like America First? No, you don't. You're probably even unaware of that history, right? You want to use this argument all the time. You just look up the party switch. Read about the Southern strategy. Read about conservatives as opposed to liberals in the civil rights movement. And watch how the electoral map shifted. Now you're going to move the goalpost, yeah, because you're just a coward. It's sad. It's really sad. Really sad. It's not that they're allergic to facts. They don't want to face them. That's the issue. So we've got Megyn Kelly trying to become the next Charlie Kirk to take advantage of that energy. And by the way, the stuff with Erica Kirk, if you know anything about acting, that was one of the biggest examples of indicating I have ever seen in my life. Ever seen in my life. Getting more and more information coming out about her. There's just some weird shit. A pageant owned by Mr. Trump, Romanian orphanages, children going missing. There's all kinds of fucking shit. I don't have all the details yet. I'm still working on it. We'll talk about that next week. We don't even know anymore. Just don't even, how do we even... It's so weird. I know, it's so weird. Dr. Dig, how are you today?
Hi, Steve. I'm wonderful. How are you today?
Fine, thank you. What's on your mind?
So, based on the last caller asking about opportunities for training Democrats, potential candidates, I know of some, and I've been bugging one of your wonderful mods to share those resources, if that's possible.
Absolutely. Probably the easiest way to do that would be to join our Discord if you're not in there already.
I will, yes. I was extended an invitation.
Beautiful.
So, but briefly, the Young Turks founder, I can never pronounce his name,
Cenk. Yep.
So he started an organization called Justice Democrats, and they are a very progressive training organization that has gotten people like AOC and Ro Khanna elected. AOC and Ro Khanna support the movement, and they look for candidates more on like a federal level, but that's one. Then I am a doctor, a computational oncologist, so I'm very plugged into the science part of it. And just one thing to mention. Supernova said the Young Turks have gone with Rogan on Kissing the Ring. So Justice Democrats is quite separate from the Young Turks. Just want that to be known. It's not.
That is true.
They're not.
Yeah, I've had some issues with Cenk myself personally, but I know that there's some progressive, there's some organizations that are helping support progressives that they've been connected to in the past. But go ahead, you can continue, please.
Okay, so if for scientists, there's one called 314 Action, and it's focused more on local elections, and it's been around since the March for Science in Trump's first administration, when everybody came out in support of science, and especially around COVID. So 314 Action is much more local level, and they want scientists. They have an arm that focuses on teachers also, training them and getting them elected for local elections. And then another one is called Emily's List, and they are focused on training and supporting, in particular, pro-choice women to local elections to fight for children, teachers, support programs from the state that are focused more on those things. So I will provide links for all of those resources in the Discord, but I just wanted to provide a little bit of hope that there are these organizations out there. They are actively looking for candidates to support, to train, to teach, and give a platform to. So, yeah.
They're out there. They do exist. Dr. Dig, thank you so much. First of all, thank you for the work that you do in oncology. I really appreciate that. It's personally touched my family as many others. So thank you that, and thank you for providing that amazing information. And if you, like I said, if you're in our Discord, please post those links and we will share them with more people. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you very much.
Of course.
You got it.
Thank you so much.
Have a great day. See you later.
You too.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Apparently, let's see, dozens of delegates from multiple nations walk out of the UN as Bibi takes the stage. He spoke after dozens of delegates from multiple nations walked out of the UN General Assembly en masse on Friday as he prepared to speak. As the Israeli leader spoke, unintelligible shouts echoed around the hall. U.S. delegation, which has backed Bibi in his campaign against the H group, stayed put. Applause rang out in other quarters as he began to speak. So there's that. Yeah. That's cool. Sweet. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. The United States failing to recognize a G-side. The only country that failed to recognize a G-side. That's good. Love that. All right. I need to do some thank yous here, so I want to do this first. Okay. I'm going to read you the list. These are the people that donated, and I just want to call people out by name. And we're working on a few other things to help recognize the people that helped us get across the finish line with the push to get equipment that was necessary for me to move over to YouTube, because it's a little bit more complicated than just the phone. But I just want to call out people's names. But I won't give you your full name. To Aaron, to Dana, to Ariana, to Megan, an anonymous donor. Thank you, anonymous. Ginger, Rachel, Michelle, Sharita, Jackie, Sandra, Ronald, Deb, Brooke, Natalie, anonymous again, Jennifer, Jolie, Robin, Char, Kate, Tona, Leah, and Jen. And to our top three donors, that would be Cookie, Sandra, and to Jen. You guys are incredible. Could have done this without you guys. It's amazing. Over the course of 2 days. Over the course of 2 days. And thank you to my buddy Fish Trucker for putting this together. We are working on it, and I just appreciate you all so very, very much. So thank you guys. And like I said, we're working on some of the other elements. There'll be some shout outs in Discord. There'll be some sponsored by lives, all these kinds of things that we're working on. We didn't expect this to happen as quickly as it did. So thank you again very, very much. You guys are amazing. Okay. So a few more things. Let's see here. Where do I want to go with this now? There's that story about from the Pentagon. Let's talk about this a little bit more, because this is just kind of funny, to be honest. The freak out from the administration regarding the whole they're calling it escalator gate. This is wild. Hold on a second. Caroline.
It does appear to be sabotage with the escalator and the teleprompter. What is the White House going to do about that?
Well, Jesse, that's definitely what it appears to be to me. And that's why I put out a statement earlier. There was some concerning reporting over the weekend from the London Times, as you pointed out, that UN globalist staffers were basically plotting to set up the president of the United States. And first it was the escalator, then it was the teleprompter, and then Katie Pavlich from Town Hall, who we offered a seat in the press pool to cover the president's historic speech today, noticed that the audio inside of the room was much lower and different for the president of the United States than the previous speaker. So when you put all of this together, it doesn't look like a coincidence to me. And I know that we have people, including the United States Secret Service, who are looking into this to try to get to the bottom of it. And if we find that these were UN staffers who were purposefully trying to literally trip up the president and the first lady of the United States, well, there better be accountability for those people. And
yes, by the way, she's wearing the cross. So the claims that the people, or the assertion is that anybody involved in this needs to be arrested. A UN spokesperson, Stephanie Jurak, said the escalator stopped because a built-in safety mechanism was triggered, likely by a videographer walking backwards ahead of the president. The safety mechanism is designed to prevent objects or people from being caught in the device. After the stoppage, the escalator was reset by a technician. UN officials also noted that escalators and elevators in the UN buildings have had intermittent outages before, partly due to cost-saving measures amid liquidity challenges. Teleprompter malfunction. So again, a videographer traveling with the U.S. contingent is responsible for this. So Caroline, please investigate that person on your staff, likely because you're part of the communications team. Anyway, also, the UN has clarified that it was not operating the teleprompter during Trump's speech. The White House was responsible for the equipment. A UN official went on to say that for any teleprompter issues, inquiries should be directed to the White House. The president of the UN General Assembly, Ms. Baerbock, affirmed that the UN's teleprompters were functioning fine. The UN has so far not publicly acknowledged any deliberate sabotage. While Trump and his team have called for investigations, the UN has not announced any formal internal probe in response to those demands. So, Caroline.
I will personally see to it, Jesse.
Good. Caroline, it does appear to be sabotage with the escalator and the teleprompter. What is the White House going to do about that?
Yeah, what are you going to do about it?
Well, Jesse, that's definitely what it appears to be to me. And that's why I put out a statement earlier. There was some concerning reporting over the weekend from the London Times, as you pointed out, that UN globalist staffers were basically plotting to set up the president of the United States. And first it was the escalator, then it was the teleprompter, and then Katie Pavlich from Town Hall, who we offered a seat in the press pool to cover the president's historic speech today, noticed that the audio inside of the room was much lower and different for the president of the United States
but we had the audio.
than the previous speaker. So when you put all of this together, it doesn't look like a coincidence to me. And I know that we have people, including the United States Secret Service, who are looking into this to try to get to the bottom of it. And if we find that these were UN staffers who were purposely trying to trip up, literally trip up the president and the first lady of the United States, well, there better be accountability for those people. And I will personally see to it, Jesse.
Good.
Cool. Don't forget, Jesse said that we should just bomb the UN, right? I'm directing my daughter in Mean Girls, and this feels like a Mean Girls moment, to be honest. My name is Rudge. I won't even go there. It's in my head. But, like, come on. They're so fucking angry, and it's their own fuck up. It's literally their own fuck up. A member of their own staff. You could see a different camera angle. The videographer walking backwards up the escalator, and as soon as he's out of sight, the escalator stops. And the teleprompter, not run by the UN, run by the White House. And isn't Trump the guy who bragged about, I don't need to go off. I just don't need, I don't even use a teleprompter. I don't need it. Okay. Nothing to see here. Okay. And a few more other things here that I want to kind of get to. Everybody keep tapping, please. So there's this whole, this is a wild one to me. Caroline again, making this massive claim. I'm bouncing around a little bit today because it's Free Speech Friday. So this, I always wondered about this one. So this is a very, very interesting statement that she made. We'll talk about it.
President Trump's mission to restore America as the manufacturing superpower of the world. He has secured nearly $9 trillion in U.S. investment, nearly 9 times more than Biden attracted in his entire 4-year term. And we expect that number to be upwards of $15 trillion very soon.
Okay. $9 trillion in 9 short months. I was really, really curious about that. So I did a little digging. And I couldn't find anything even close to that number. She said in this briefing that the White House, that President Trump has secured, quote, nearly $9 trillion in U.S. investment, adding that they expect the numbers to be upwards of $15 trillion. Independent checks, all kinds of reporting. No one has been able to find anything at all close to that number. Mr. Trump had a very interesting thing to say. He said this, which is, I'm sure this is the answer.
The other day, it was very interesting. They found $31 billion. They said, sir, we found 31. I said, you mean positively, right? They said, yeah, 31 million more than we knew.
Billion initially. Oh, let's start again. Hold on. I think you said billion, sir. Maybe I missed that. But I think you said billion to start.
The other day, it was very interesting. They found $31 billion. They said, sir, we found 31. I said, you mean positively, right? They said, yeah, 31 million more than we knew.
Million.
And they said, we don't know where it came from. I said, check the tariff shelf. They came back the following morning. They said, you're right, sir, it came from the tariffs. We've never seen anything like this. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking some money from all of the tariff money that we've taken, and we're going to distribute it to our farmers until the tariffs kick into their benefit, which ultimately the farmers are going to be making a fortune. The other
What?
Smart people don't like me.
Acknowledging that he is crippling the domestic farming industry as we lean towards another farmer bailout. Acknowledging that, just hang in there, farmers. It's okay. I fucked you over the last time, but you fools voted for me again. I'm going to fuck you over again, and then eventually I'll send some money your way. But don't worry. Don't worry. It's on the tariff shelf. It's behind rice-a-roni, the cream of broccoli soup, and maybe a bag of chips that are stale, that have probably been up there forever. Don't worry. He found it on the tariff shelf. So back to Caroline's claim. It's not verified anywhere. At best guess, CBS, Politico, the AP all said the most we can find is $2 trillion from private companies, not 9. Here's the problem with that, though. Do you guys remember there was a famous White House meeting that involved a lot of tech executives, and Mark Zuckerberg was there. So I'm going to play this sound, and there's a hot mic moment that you guys might have forgotten about, but I got you.
How much are you spending? Would you?
So Trump is asking Zuckerberg, how much are you spending? So the people talking are Trump and Ben Zuckerberg.
How much are you spending? Would you say over the next few years?
Oh gosh, I mean, I think it's probably going to be something like, I don't know, at least $600 billion.
Cool. So we're making this big claim. So we're going to be spending $600 billion over the next couple of years. Cool.
Through 28 in the U.S. Yeah.
It's a lot.
No, it's significant.
That's a lot. Thank you, Mark. It's great to have you.
And then there's a hot mic moment. I'm sorry, I wasn't ready to do that.
He said I
wasn't sure what number you wanted me to go with. So all this money that he's claiming is coming in is bullshit. Bullshit. We know this because a lot of the investments that he's touting now were already pledged or announced in previous administrations. Pledged or announced. Investments are not the same as spent money. Many announcements are conditional on regulatory approval. Some of these even happened during the previous administration. So, MAGA, is Zuckerberg now part of the deep state? Notice how our friends who were here this morning have suddenly run. Let me do this. I have to set the gifting goal again. Okay, what should it be? Let's do, donuts. Let's do bubble gum, sure. So there's now nothing that MAGA can hold their hat. They can hold their hat on. Nothing. Nothing. Not a damn thing. Can I get a yip? Yip. Yip. Immigration. Tom Homan accepting $50,000 in cash. Caroline Leavitt basically saying that he didn't, yet there's video evidence, allegedly, of him actually taking $50,000 in cash. Tom Homan going on record saying that 70% of the people that they've arrested have criminal records and the other 30% are in gangs. And we know that that's not true. You guys know Tim Miller? I love Tim Miller from The Bulwark. He sits down with with Dylan Hausman, who's the editor-in-chief of the Daily Caller. Before I play that sound, the Daily Caller, by the way, far right. Overall, we rate the Daily Caller, this is from a media bias fact check. Overall, we rate the Daily Caller as extremely right bias based on story selection that almost always favors the right and mixed for factual reporting due to numerous failed fact checks. The Daily Caller is a source that needs to be fact checked on a per article basis. Okay? So then back to this interview with Tim Miller, and he's interviewing a gentleman by the name of Dylan Hausman, who is the editor-in-chief for the Daily Caller.
That the people they're arresting are people that were suspected or charged with crimes for the most part, as far as I know.
You think the gay hairdresser Andre, you think he was...
Again, as far as I know, it's a telling statement for him to say, as far as I know, you are promoting lies and disinformation. And now you're not in a safe space. And now you're being questioned. And now your answer is, as far as I know? If as far as you know, then why the fuck are you promoting it at all? Interesting.
I think that the people they're arresting are people that were suspected or charged with crimes for the most part, as far as I know.
You think the gay hairdresser Andre, you think he was a gang member? What did he think his job was in Trento Aragua? Was he doing hair and makeup, or what do you think was his role?
I don't think the gay hairdresser was doing hair and makeup for Trento Aragua. I think that if he was here, if people are here illegally, then we need to deport them.
That's different.
To foreign prisons with no due process. We should send them to a prison in a third country with no due process, and the government should lie about who they were. You're okay with that?
I'm not okay with the government lying, Tim, about who people are.
But they lie. I mean, that's a simple question. Do you think they lie?
The idea that before the Trump administration that every single criminal case, or deportation case, or anything that's ever happened in the United States was all on the up and up, and every I was dotted and T
Well, of course not. But we never sent people to a foreign prison camp before this time.
Pivot.
Like that
Yeah,
was
but
a first.
I have no problem with people that have links to gangs being sent to a foreign prison.
But you just said you assume some of them didn't. You assume some of them didn't.
I'm sure mistakes happen, and then you can rectify mistakes.
That's a pretty bad mistake.
Yeah,
sending somebody that's not a gang member to a foreign prison for 4 months.
People on death row get executed by mistake throughout American history. All this, it's not. It's
well,
not
just because
unique
other
to the
bad
Trump
things
administration.
happen. This is
not
my issue,
unique.
man. I don't understand why you're so hesitant to just admit that this is a bad thing. You don't have to talk about other bad things that happened in history. Like, sure, like if you believe the administration sent people that were not gang members to a foreign prison and lied about it?
I have not reviewed every single person that got sent to CCOT.
Wow. But do you think what do you think?
Wow.
I would think that there might have been some mistakes because in law enforcement there are always mistakes that happen, and you hope that you can correct them. What I reject is, of course it happens, and you need to try to fix it. And it's bad if it happens, and it's bad to lie about it if somebody's lying about it.
They obviously lied about it. I mean,
I think that the people.
That is just. Hey, come here. What do you got? Oh, okay. He's got something. Kipper does not need a friend. Don't anybody think otherwise. That's what being in a cult is like. Exactly. That's what being in a cult is like. He's even questioning his own answers, but yet digging in his fingernails into the stalactites or stalagmites, whichever one they are, right? For the bloodletting. No, Sam, you're wrong. The gay hairdresser, Andrew, you think he was a gang member? What do you think his job was in Trinidad? Was he doing hair and makeup or what? That is just so fucking disturbing. That this is a gentleman who's the editor-in-chief of the Daily Caller, a far-right extremist organization, to get Kipper a friend who, Drew. That ain't going to happen. Everybody ignore that. We are removing that pin. That comment is unpinned. I don't even know how to fucking do that. Jesus Christ, that's crazy. Anyway, the blatant, just absolute pitiful answers for someone who's got a following in social media. The Daily Caller is a far-right organization. Far-right. Y'all don't be cheering on Drew. He might be on the short list. Far-right. Again, this is the assessment from the MediaVice fact checker. Overall, we rate the Daily Caller as strongly right-biased based on story selection that almost always favors the right and mixed for factual reporting due to numerous failed fact checks. The Daily Caller is a source that needs to be fact-checked on a per-article basis. And he wants to sit there and say this again. Sorry, I have to play it again.
People they're arresting are people that were suspected or charged with crimes for the most part. For the most part, I know.
You think the gay hairdresser? Andre? You think he was a gang member? What did he think his job was in Trinidad? Was he doing hair and makeup or?
Fucking Tim's great.
What do you think was his role?
I don't think the gay hairdresser was doing hair and makeup for Trinidad. I think that if he was here, if people are here illegally, then we need to deport them and
to foreign prisons with no due process. We should send them to a prison in a third country with no due process, and the government should lie about who they were. You're okay with that?
I'm not okay with the government lying, Tim, about who people are.
But they lie. I mean, that's a simple question. Do you think they lie?
The idea that before the Trump administration, that every single criminal case or deportation case or anything that's ever happened in the United States.
I don't need a friend. I've got enough friends. Everybody stop bugging me. I don't want any more friends. There's enough of them here.
The States was all on the up and up, and every I was dotted and T.
Well, of course not. But we never sent people to a foreign prison camp before this time. Like that was
I have no problem with people that have links to gangs being sent to a foreign prison.
But you just said you assume some of them didn't. You assume some of them didn't.
I'm sure mistakes happen, and then you can rectify mistakes if they happen.
That's a pretty bad mistake, sending somebody that's not a gang member to a foreign prison for 4 months.
People on death row get executed by mistake throughout American history. All this, it's not. It's
well,
not
just because
unique
other
to the
bad
Trump
things
administration.
happen. This is my issue, man. I don't understand why you're so hesitant to just admit that this is a bad thing. You don't have to talk about other bad things that happened in history. Like, sure, like if you do you believe the administration sent people that were not gang members to a foreign prison and lied about it?
I have not reviewed every single person that got sent to CCOT.
But do you think what do you think?
I would think that there might have been some mistakes because in law enforcement there are always mistakes that happen, and you hope that you can correct them.
You hope.
What I reject is, of course it happens, and you need to try to fix it. And it's bad if it happens, and it's bad to lie about it if somebody's lying about it.
They obviously lied about it. I mean,
okay. I think that.
And then there's this story that came out of Alligator Alcatraz that a judge just recently ruled is going to be closed. How exactly did ICE manage to lose more than 1,000 Alligator Alcatraz detainees? As of the end of August, the whereabouts of 2/3 of the more than 1,800 men detained at Alligator Alcatraz during the month of July could not be determined by the Miami Herald. The Herald had obtained the names from two detainee rosters. Around 800 detainees showed no record on ICE's online database, and then more than 450 listed no location and only instructed the users to call ICE for details. A vague notation that attorneys said could mean that a detainee is still being processed in the middle of a transfer between two sites or about to be deported. Excuse me? What was that? They had these people isolated in a prison camp in the middle of the damn Everglades, and somehow they managed to lose them? Some Alligator Alcatraz detainees who couldn't be located in the ICE database might have been deported, even though the internal data obtained by the Herald shows the vast majority of detainees didn't have final orders of removal from a judge before entering the facility. Some of those deportations occurred as a result of detainees deciding to abandon their ongoing immigration case, to put an end to their detention at the facility and its harsh conditions, which included being held in chain link cages in tents with little protection from the elements. It became a game of chicken to see who's going to blink first, to see if the client's going to say, I don't want to be detained in these conditions, just send me back, said Miami immigration attorney Alex Soleimani. So we have Tom Homan, the border czar, the actual border czar, an actual title that he was given, unlike what the right claimed that Kamala Harris had. The actual border czar taking $50,000 in a bribe, an influence scheme, a story and investigation that was ended under the president's administration now, under that DOJ. That guy who bragged that 70% of all those that were detained and arrested and deported had criminal records, and the other 30% were in gangs. And we know that that is absolutely not true. It's not even close to true. It is absolutely not the truth. People were, Abrego Garcia is a perfect example. Numerous examples of people's rights being violated. Numerous examples of people being detained and arrested without due process, without even criminal convictions, without even an arrest warrant. Hundreds, if not more. 2 detainees shot at the Dallas ICE facility. Again, the right wants to use that as anti-ICE because they made up bullshit about anti-ICE being on one of the fucking bullets. I don't fucking believe it. It's all a fucking lie. Let's see proof that woman took $50,000. That would be Homan, John. Well, the proof was the investigation that was ended by your Department of Justice. Want to explain that, John? Probably can't explain that, can you? So here we are. One example of incompetence on top of another. No Limit, how are you today?
Hey, Steve. I've been trying to come up for the longest time. Every time I have a connection problem or something. But
glad you're here.
I'm a little concerned about this sudden meeting that was called for all the generals and admirals to come to Quantico.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that next
Tuesday. Yeah, even the ones at international bases. Everybody has to meet in Quantico next Tuesday. Yeah. And so what do you? Yeah, go ahead. If you're going to talk about it, great. What do you think is going on? Because I have my own thoughts.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, well, so just so people know,
it's never happened in modern history.
You're right. As far as we know, this is the first time that this has ever happened. So Pete Hegseth, again, somebody who let me get the date of this story here. It's reported by the AP. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth summoned hundreds of generals and admiral-level officers, 1-star and above, plus their senior enlisted advisors to a meeting next week at the Marine Corps base Quantico in Virginia. The meeting is being described by officials as rare and abrupt, with many of the invitees unsure of the purpose or even how to prepare. Pentagon has confirmed the meeting, but has declined to provide public data on the details of the agenda. Hegseth has previously pushed for significant reductions in the number of generals and admirals. He's called for a 20% cut in 4-star officers and additional reductions across the senior ranks under a slogan of less generals, more GIs. He's also repeatedly or already removed or dismissed multiple senior officers, including top military lawyers and high-ranking commanders in recent months. Some observers speculate that the meeting could coincide with or signal a further shakeup, strategic realignment, personnel cuts, restructuring of commands, or doctrinal changes. The White House and the Vice President J.D. Vance have attempted to downplay the meeting's significance, calling it routine or benign. So, first of all, two things. Why does the world now know that hundreds of generals and admiral-level officers will be in the same place at the same time? That's the first one.
I haven't even thought about that.
Yeah, like, why would something like that become public? It's never happened before. The White House attempting to try to downplay it, say, it's no big deal. Why? So, I'm curious your theory as to why you think it's happening.
Yeah. So I think it's going to come down to loyalty, and I think some people are going to be dismissed because the military. By this time, by election time next year, we're going to have the military in all the major cities, even some smaller cities, and basically trying to, as a scare tactic, people not to go out and vote. That's how I feel.
Maybe that would require a lot. Maybe. Thanks for that reminder, Larry. I appreciate you being here today, buddy. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
You got it. See you later. Story continues. A gathering of this scale, pulling generals and admirals from worldwide commands without prior notice or public rationale, is highly unusual in modern Pentagon practices. Many in the defense policy community and Congress see this as part of a broader centralization and politicization of military leadership under Keg's breath tenure. Because the meeting's purpose is opaque, it has sparked concern over possible further mass firings or reassignments for senior officers. The timing is also notable. Hegseth's push for rank reductions and command restructuring has been underway for months. This gathering could mark the next phase. So, why are we doing this? And then why would this be public information? You don't think our enemies would be like, wait a minute, hold on a second. Hold on. You mean the guy that was the Fox News host? The guy that used to be drunk on the job, the guy that has said horrible things about women, the guy who already leaked classified information twice, that guy, you're telling us, adversaries to the United States, that he went public with inviting basically the entire leadership of the U.S. military to one place at one time? Holy fuck. Woo! Man, anybody got a drone? Anybody got a drone? Do we have any cells that are near the Pentagon? We do? Sweet. Oh, Quantico? Your friend lives near Quantico? Psh, awesome. What the fuck? What the fuck? Seriously. Mew, how are you today?
Good, and you?
Fine, thank you. What's on your mind?
Remember when the mustache man did the Night of the Long Knives?
Sure do.
pit of my stomach. I'm just like, wait, are they going to try to do that to, like, with all the commanders? Like, is that the point we're at?
Who wouldn't be? Would you be surprised? I wouldn't.
No.
I wouldn't.
No, I wouldn't.
Nope. Nope.
Well, that's the only point I wanted to bring up because that's how it's feeling.
I appreciate you, Neil, very much for being here, as always.
I appreciate you so much, Steve.
Thank you for saying that. I appreciate you. See you later. Thanks a lot. Seriously, I mean, why the fuck? One of the rules, apparently, to be a member of the Trump administration cabinet is to, I think it's 31. We can confirm that. I think it's 31 people who used to work at Fox who are now employed in leadership positions within our federal government, either cabinet members or support staff or high-ranking officials. Keep in mind, Fox was sued by Dominion for lying. They settled for $750 million because they did not want to have to go in front of a court to answer questions under oath. And those people, including Pete Kegsbreath, are making decisions in our federal government on the daily. Okay. Just a little bit of history on Pete Hegseth and his wanting to downsize the U.S. military. February 21st to the 27th of this year, Hegseth removes multiple top leaders, including CNO Admiral Lisa Franchetti, Air Force Vice Chief General James Slife. Reports also note broader purges of senior uniformed leadership and members of the JAG Corps. March 13th, reporting surfaces that Hegseth plans a sweeping overhaul of the JAG Corps to relax rules of engagement and reshape legal advice to commanders. May 5th, rank reductions announced. Cut 4-star billets by 20%, trim 10% across all general flag officers and 20% in guard generals. Also references prior removals of senior officials and ongoing reviews that could merge and eliminate commands. August 22nd to 23rd, head of the Defense Intelligence Agency, Lieutenant General Jeffrey Cruz, and other senior fellows were fired following an assessment that reportedly displeased the White House. It was those people who were involved in the intelligence regarding the situation in Iran, where the lies of the administration about the decimation of the Iranian nuclear program, they lied about that too. And then this, Hegseth abruptly summons hundreds of generals and admirals, plus senior enlisted advisors to Quantico with no public agenda. The White House downplays it. Reporting emphasizes rarity and disruption. I think I have that sound. Maybe. I guess I don't. It's just comical to me. It's like the more of the same. Like, this is what we're doing now? I have it here. Here we go. This is reporting by ABC. And by the way, if you're looking for a mainstream media organization that's very down the center, factually speaking, I would suggest ABC News. Hi, Erica. Sorry about that. How are you?
Hi. No worries. How are you, Steve? How's my Bluetooth?
Fabulous today. Thank you so very, very much. I appreciate you.
Good. Well, thank you so much for letting me up. I was in requests and I just got a call back that I was waiting for. That's related to what I kind of wanted to share, if that's all right.
Absolutely.
Last time that I came up on your panel, it was kind of inspirational. It was like, hey, I realized that public programs only work when the public is involved. And so I decided to get involved in my district school accountability committee that advises the Board of Education for my district. So I've been learning a lot about school districts. And so that was last time I came up here was kind of inspirational, like get involved. But something happened in my daughter's 5th grade social studies class yesterday that I would like for you to hear.
Sure.
And I posted it. But we know how TikTok does. You know, you talk about anything important and TikTok doesn't push it out. So my daughter's 10. And yesterday after school, she says, Mom, in social studies, Miss Blank said, quote, racism is in the past. I know that's not true, Mom. And I think a lot of people are probably thinking, oh, Erica, do you live in Oklahoma or Kansas or Texas? No, I am in a very blue state. And so I immediately reached out to my co-chair and said, hey, I don't know how to handle this. And she said, you know, it's school policy that if you name a teacher in an email, it immediately gets forwarded to them. So I have a meeting here in 45 minutes, a one-on-one with the principal of the school. And she does not know that what it's about. She knows that it's a sensitive subject, or however I decided to word it. And I am at this moment trying to decide what my approach is going to be. I think my approach is going to be, this is what was said. I also live in a one-party consent recording state. So actually I need to make a note right now because I'm so nervous that I'm probably going to forget to record it. But I absolutely want to record this, and I don't know how it's going to go, but I think that it's really important for people to ask their children what they're learning in school. This is the teacher that is introducing. So in fifth grade, this is when they start introducing American history. This is when they first introduce World War II. So there we go. I found out obviously last night, couldn't sleep.
Social studies, you said that was the class?
Correct. Fifth grade social studies. 10-year-olds, a classroom of 10-year-olds were told yesterday, quote, racism is in the past.
I think you're absolutely right to record the conversation. I mean, you haven't asked for my advice, if that's what you're asking, maybe. I mean, I think you're absolutely right to record the conversation that you have with the principal without question. I think that you're absolutely in the right to do that. I'm not surprised, Erica, to be honest. I don't think it matters necessarily where you live. I think it surprises us more when we hear it in like very blue locations, but there's like, just like there's blue dots in red states, there's red dots in blue states too. I'll be really curious to see how the school reacts to this. I don't know how strong their teachers union is. I don't know the context in which, obviously that conversation is going to come up. Not saying I don't believe your daughter, I absolutely do, but I'm sure those questions are going to come up. The teacher's probably going to be like, well, we were discussing this or that, but I'm just disgusted by that. Just disgusted by it.
Yeah, me too. And I am really grateful in this moment that I decided that one morning to get very, very involved in the school district. So I have the direct ear of the Board of Education and the entire District Accountability Committee. I'm going to the principal first out of respect.
Sure.
But yeah, we're going to see how this unfolds. I'm not in the business. I would consider myself an educator. I'm highly educated, and I'm not in the business of, getting teachers fired. I think that teachers need all the support. We could speak about how amazing teachers are. Yeah, I'm pretty nervous, to be honest, and I'm very livid, and I've also gone over the curriculum, and it was on my to-do list to follow up because my district has a very bullet point curriculum. So like for the whole year for social studies, you're talking like a page and a half. maybe. And it doesn't really say very much, and it doesn't give any of the additional reading. So it was actually something that was on my list where I was like, no, I need a more detailed curriculum of what is especially being taught as we're introducing American history. And I need all the additional reading materials. But I'm also so proud of my 10-year-old that immediately she said, this is what was said. Yeah. And Mom, I know that's not right. And there's a lot of places that I might be failing in life, capitalism, but parenting is not one of them.
I'm with you. I would agree.
But parenting is not one of them. And I let her have ice cream in bed last night because I'm so proud of her. But yeah, we're going to do this. And I will absolutely be going to the district about this. Like I said, I have the Board of Education in direct earshot. I feel, and maybe I would really like your opinion thank you for letting me take up so much time on your panel.
My pleasure.
I appreciate you. I appreciate your community. I'm a very fiery person. So I'm pretty livid and I want to come in with like all the facts, right? I'm talking to facts. Like, I want to come in and like start talking about all the things. And I don't know that that's the best approach right now. I think the best approach is to just present it to the principal and do this as much as I can, kind of poker face, and see what she says. And then she also knows very much that I am and that I am involved in the district, and she knows I am involved in the Board of Education, so she knows my roles there. So anyway, when I was in request earlier, the principal called, so I had to jump out, and she just scheduled it for 10 o'clock. Sorry, my time zone, but for 45 minutes.
Sure.
So here we go.
So if it were me, Erica, I would probably approach it the same way that you are. Like I always go about like this is what I know. This is what my daughter told me. This is how the conversation this is why I wanted to speak with you today. So I'm with you. I think that's the best approach because as we know, like in any communication, putting somebody on the defensive doesn't usually end well. So I think I can feel your passion. I can literally feel it. So I'm with you. And our community stands behind you to do this. Two things I want to say. First of all, take your flowers. That's something that we like to say around here. Take your flowers for raising such an amazing young kid. For her, first of all, for her courage to be able to call it out, and for her feeling safe enough to talk to you about it, even if ice cream in bed was the outcome. The fact that she felt safe enough to talk to you about it, I think, is really great. So take your flowers for that. For one. Second, I think you're right. It's going in, getting information. The reason I wanted to get your attention today is because something I heard was interesting. I'd like your thoughts on it. Present what you know. Here's the facts. I'm going to record this just so we can communicate on this and then see where the conversation goes. Without making accusations, because this might be something that the principal's never heard of before, right? And you're not accusing anybody of anything. You're just trying to get clarification, right? Is that your goal?
Yeah, I want to get clarification. I also am, like I said, I'm not in the business of getting teachers fired.
Yeah. And by the way, do you have to? It says it's one party consent recording, so you don't even have to inform that you're recording, right?
Nope. I don't have to. I don't have to. Yeah, I don't have to notify her, and good. I am. Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you for letting me take up this space, and yeah, it's just a piggyback off of last time. I was like, get involved with your school board. Public programs only work when you are, involved in it. True. Same as democracy, what you were talking about a few hours ago. And when things happen, when you have people in positions, in higher positions within the school board that are directly in reach. So, yeah, we're going to see how this goes, but thank you for your support. And
absolutely.
Yeah,
would you be willing to come back and let us know how it went? I think this is an opportunity for a lot of people to learn from this, because I'm sure there are other people that are out there in our community that are listening today or elsewhere that might have come across the same sort of scenario, and they're looking for guidance, and your bravery might inspire them to do something similar, right? Because we don't, like you said, we're not in the business to get teachers fired. It's not what we do, but that's something that just can't happen, right? That's just something that cannot happen. We can't be can't happen.
That cannot be said in any classroom, any age, but you're talking about a room full of 10-year-olds.
Correct.
10-year-olds.
Correct.
This is in a very blue state. I'm not going to say what state, but it's in a very blue state for people. And thank you for everybody that's, I can't keep up with the comments. So thank you for all of the care. But yeah, this should not be said in any classroom. And when I was in graduate school, it was when Michelle Alexander published The New Jim Crow, which I'm so glad for all of the accolades and all of the everything that has come out, showing how old I am, that I was in grad school when it came out. But I'm feeling like The New Jim Crow needs to be a holiday present for the social studies teacher. I don't know. Just
yeah, agreed. I totally agree. How great would that be?
I'm like, I'm sorry. The irony of that being said in a public school that is funded by property taxes, that taxpayers, we know that redlining, like you and I'm speaking to the choir and with your crew here, but like, we're not going to talk about systematic here. Like, we're not like, yeah. So,
well, that's the point, right? I mean, to me, it's more. It seems like it was a very sort of laissez-faire statement too. Like, racism doesn't exist. Why are we talking about it? That's kind of what it feels like to me, the way in which you described it. We weren't in the room. Your daughter was. I'm sure she would have a better example. But just to make a statement, like you said, private school, Christian school, whatever, you can do whatever the hell you want, sadly, unfortunately, which is what we don't want. But in a public school, it's just unacceptable. It's unacceptable. It's unacceptable seems to minimize it. You know what I mean? Can't happen. Agreed. It just can't happen. It just cannot happen.
I'm so livid. Thank you for reminding me to record it. Yeah. And thank you for the support, because I'm pretty shaky. I'm pretty nervous. But there's a time when everyone will have to decide, are you going to side with power, or are you going to side with justice? And that's from the book, Everyone One Day Will Say They Were Against This, which is a really excellent book, a really excellent read. But the author says that, and I think that this is one of those opportunities. So anyway, I've taken up way too much space. I'm not going to be late.
Thank you. Thank you.
Appreciate you. And
thank you, Erica. Appreciate you very much. Good luck. Let us know, okay? If you want to message me, you can do that too if necessary. But good luck, and thank you for doing something. And big props to your daughter. I'd say, just from me, extra ice cream tonight. That's just my call though. But thank you for being brave enough to do this. I appreciate it.
All right, take care. Bye.
Keep us posted. Bye. See you later. God, that shit's it bothers me so much. While we're talking, there was a lockdown in my daughter's school, but they gave the all clear within 5 minutes. So, America, everything's good. Jesus. Hey, buddy, how are you?
Good. How are you doing, man? Gosh, the lockdown, I've had that happen at my daughter's school as well. It's very, very scary. So, it sounds like it was, released very quickly. But as a parent, that is always scary. So hope you're doing okay.
I'm all right. Thank you, man. Appreciate you. Same. How are you?
I'm doing okay, man. I wanted to talk about something really quick. And I missed Erica's story. I came in kind of right at the end. But I feel like it was kind of fate, because I wanted to talk about the same thing that happened to my daughter just recently. And I kind of wanted to get your perspective and your community's perspective on this. Because I've been struggling with this, man. I got to tell you. And I think it was on the same subject that Erica was talking about. But again, I just came in right at the end of her story. I hope she's okay, by the way.
Yeah, she said the teacher, her daughter told her that her teacher said that racism is in the past, doesn't exist anymore.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. In a very blue, as she described it, in a very blue state.
I got it. Yeah, we got some of those in our states, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And this goes exactly to what I want to talk about. So I want to just get your perspective and your community's perspective. Love you too, Erica. So my daughter today's Friday, on Wednesday, she came home and she said, Dad, hey, I want to talk to you about something. And she's in middle school, 6th grade. She said, had a situation in class, and it's a, kind of a drama theater type class, right? An elective, that she's taking in her school. And so they, learning about acting and expression and all that good stuff. And the teachers, and so they pulled out these cards, right? It said, let's say it's act like a baseball player, and then you do something like a baseball player, or, pretend like you're a grocery store manager, whatever it may be, right? And so she pulls a card, and the card says, hop around and act like a gorilla. And so my daughter was like, hey, I just don't really feel comfortable with this teacher, given what's going on in the country and my race and stuff like that. I don't really feel comfortable doing this, right? And the teacher was like, no, you got to do it. You pulled it out, you got to do it. And so too bad, basically, right? Mm-hmm. So grudgingly, my daughter, did the skit or whatever. And, I think maybe 2 people later, it was a young white child that same scenario, got something that, she didn't want to do. And she said, hey, teacher, I don't know what it was for, by the way. I can't remember if it was for race, religion, what it was for. But, hey, I don't really feel comfortable with this card. And the teacher's like, oh, yeah, I understand. No problem. You can pull another one. And so to me, that was very blatant, and very, very frustrating as a parent, because as you know, as a parent, the first thing you always think about is, I wasn't there to protect my child, even though you couldn't be, right? And so you have that feeling of that sinking feeling of sadness there. But then beyond that, it's like, okay, well, now what am I going to do? And so I'm kind of struggling. On the one hand, I'm like, okay, how do I approach this and move forward with this? Because again, it's bothering me. Of course, she is like, hey, Dad, don't do anything. Kids that age, like, oh, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. But they don't sometimes understand the wider consequences of what's happened and what may be happening to other kids, right? And so I'm trying to figure out, what would be the best approach. So I'm going to be quiet and just, listen to the chat and get your perspective on it, man. But I wanted to share that with you this morning, something that I've been struggling with.
First of all, I appreciate you so much. For those of you who don't follow Smitty, please do. It's tough. To be honest, man, it's tough for me because I can't relate. Only because of your life experiences and your daughter's life experiences. I will say this though, that as soon as you told me your daughter's experience, I knew where it was going. I would have predicted it. I could have put money on it. That the same thing happened to a white kid, and the white kid said, I feel uncomfortable with this, and I'm assuming the white teacher let them pass. And I much like what Erica talked about, these kinds of things, we have to call them out. I think that's sadly what we just don't do enough. And again, I can't speak to your lived experience. I can only say that, I'm an accomplice in the fight against injustice, especially social injustice. If it were me and I were in your position, again, I'm not. If it were me, I would address it. I'd be like, this is the experience that my daughter had. This is what she shared with me. I need to know information. It's bothered me. I'd like some clarification as to what happened in this particular incident. That's what I would do. I'd be seething. I'd be like really trying to keep things under control. I'd have to do a lot of yoga and a lot of meditating before I walked in there. But that's kind of how I would approach it. Just
No, I appreciate that, man. And, I'm definitely not one for being quiet about things, as you know.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it's definitely not out of, desire to keep quiet or to be passive about it. It's just one of those things of like, man, I'm so tired, bro. And I know that's how they want us to feel, right? They want us to just be so tired that we just let things go and that we don't act when there are injustices. But that's how I'm feeling today overall. And I think that's kind of informing my mood on this specific situation. I'm just so tired, man, that we have to even, continue this fight,
Yeah, and I know you talk about systemic change and trying to make these little small movements here, maybe changing one mind there, influence one person here. Like whenever kids are involved in I know you're a proud dad, #girldad. As we talk about these things, like the most vulnerable people in our society, in my perspective, are children and the poor and the elderly and the disabled. But I always think about kids. So if we're talking about something and our motivation is to try to say, I don't want my kid to grow up with these same kind of conditions that I did. So the question then becomes, how do we change it? What do we do about it? Do we call it out, or do we just be like, I don't want to get involved? Because I'm about trying to correct bad behavior. So when we have the conversation about it's all men until it's no men, what is me, a white man of privilege, doing to call out other white men of privilege? Similarly here, we just can't let this, I just can't let this kind of shit go. Just can't. How do we make it better if we just continue to just step away from it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. No, absolutely, man. I appreciate that.
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry.
No, absolutely. I just wanted to come up real quick and share that. And so thank you. I appreciate you. And to the, folks in the chat, I appreciate you guys' perspective. I even appreciate the troll in the chat's perspective, because I never want a troll to like me, man. If trolls like me, I'm doing the wrong thing. So I appreciate the troll too.
You and me both. Hey, would you do me a solid? Would you just check back in with me and just let me know how it goes and what you decided? Because I'm just curious. Because these situations are going to happen, and the fact that, first of all, you're such a good dad, and that you care about this kind of shit, and that you're conflicted with how to address it, and then Erica having to deal with something that she doesn't want to have to deal with, but she's going to. This is, from my perspective, this is an example of people doing something to try to say, listen, I can't tolerate it. So would you mind just checking back in?
Of course, man. Of course.
All right.
Yeah, appreciate you. Much love to you. Thank you, chat. Love you, guys.
Same here, buddy. See you later. Take care, man.
Okay.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Here we are in this fucking, I hate this shit. Oh my God. Let's think about the past two conversations that we just had, right? Erica facing a situation where her daughter says the teacher said racism no longer exists. Smitty's daughter in a classroom saying, I don't want to act like a gorilla because of a whole bunch of shit. Teacher says, got to do it anyway. You picked it. White kid picks a card that they don't want to do. Teacher says, fine with that. You don't have to do it. Don't worry about it. Like, the fuck are we doing? Jesus. What the fuck are we doing? Hey, Drew.
Hey, why you limited my First Amendment speech, Steve?
I know, right? I know.
Hey, man. I wanted to, you had such a great show. I mean, every day you have a great show. Yesterday you were talking a lot about faith and, morality and all that good stuff. And, that caller that we're all still reeling about, that we are a Christian nation. I'm doing air quotes like you can see me.
Yeah.
But I wanted to share a experience we had last week. Last Saturday was my birthday. And, oh, thank you. Appreciate it, man. I'm getting close to half a century.
You're just a baby. Just a baby.
I am just a baby. But we went to a place called Main Event here in Greenville. It's It's a pretty neat place. It's one of those places that has a little bit of everything: arcades, bowling. I have a 7-year-old son. My brother has a 12-year-old. So I thought they'd have fun. We could all go and play with them and just have a good old time, good food, good times and everything. My son's first time bowling ever, right? So they have at this place, they have waitresses that kind of go around, and they can take your drink order, they can bring you food if you want. So while we were bowling, the waitress approached my mother and my sister-in-law, and we did the whole thing, drinks, all the good stuff. Nobody drank anything alcoholic, but just So when we were getting ready to move on to our next activity, we were done bowling, we were getting our shoes off, doing all the stuff. The waitress, who was a young woman, approached my mother and my sister-in-law and apparently had noticed our last name, which is a very, very Jewish last name. Okay? And immediately began talking to them about Jesus Christ and how she was worried for our souls because unless we accepted Jesus, then we would be going to hell. Now, my mother and my sister-in-law are both very smart, strong women who approached it with kindness and just said, well, we appreciate you saying that, but we need to move on now. It really bugged me, and I eventually did call back and speak to a manager and just say, hey, listen, I don't want anybody getting in trouble. I'm not asking you to fire anybody. I'm not asking you to get anybody in trouble. But I think for anybody in the crowd who is of the Christian faith or of any faith in that regard, you have to learn how uncomfortable and how inappropriate that is to approach somebody who is not Christian, who is not of your same faith, and tell them things like that and push your religion on them and tell them that because they believe differently than you, that something bad is going to happen. I mean, my mother's a great person. My sister-in-law is a great person. They're kind. They're decent people. And it's just like, I'm just trying to imagine the nerve, especially to have to somebody who's at your place of business and is your customer, to have the nerve to go up to somebody to do that. I think that shows the level of indoctrination that we're dealing with. And unfortunately, now we've let that indoctrination get into the White House and all the branches of government that affect our lives every single day.
Yeah. There's just so many. I don't even know what to say about that, Drew. I'm just,
I think.
I'm just.
I think the thing with religion, with faith, people confuse faith and religion all the time. Faith is, believing in some sort of a higher power, for accountability, for understanding. Religion is the rules that they want you to follow in order to appease that higher power. I think for people like you and me, and I venture to speak for most of the chat, for you and I, our higher power is society. Like, we want to make sure that kids eat, people are taken care of, there's kindness, there's, we want to make sure everybody's taken care of. That's our higher power. We live our lives so that what we do on earth kind of resonates in our society and that we've done something that kind of furthers everything. And it's so weird that people are living for some weird utopian future that, well, why not do it now? You're here now. Do all those kind things now. Then you don't have to beg for forgiveness from some deity at some point. You've already spread the love. You've already spread the goodness around. Why not do it now? Don't wait. It was ridiculous to me.
I mean, sure. I get that. I mean, I think that the issue that we all sort of bang into here is the principled approach that the moral majority tends to take. And I think that's the hard part. I think that the frustration that I get are people that make these claims about things that don't exist, or that this didn't happen, or I care about the lives and futures of children, or all that kind of shit, are the biggest hypocrites in the world. And anyway, I'm a little distracted, Drew. I'm sorry. These past couple conversations have just really rattled me, to be honest.
I'm just those two conversations. I mean, that's what we need to. We need to be hearing that. And I live in South Carolina, so I'm constantly worried about. My son I'm very, very lucky. We're in a very small, rinky-dink town that has all the problems that you could imagine a small town in South Carolina would have. You could imagine that there's a lot of Trump flags. There's a lot of that kind of stuff going on. We have the range of very wealthy to extremely, extremely poor folks here. So I've always been worried, like, I'm sending my son to this school in South Carolina. I just worry about what he's picking up. We get flyers for something called the Good News Club, and the school promotes this even through text messages. Good News Club is basically a Christian organization. Now, I'm not saying it's a necessarily bad thing. I'm sure that they do positive things, but it is religiously influenced. And my son's come home and said, "Oh, the Good News Club meets on Tuesday." I'm like, okay. To have the school advertise that. It's something that's always around, and I'm so worried about him picking up on stuff. Luckily, our schools, it's like ranked 6th in the state, and they seem to be doing a really good job with it. But I've been keeping a very close track on what he brings home and what he tells me, because I am concerned about that. I am concerned about some of these PragerU and all this stuff that's getting out there, starting to get mainstreamed into our society, into our schools.
That's everybody's fear, and it's part of the strategy, to be honest, which is why you have people like Linda McMahon, which is why you have attacks on public education, et cetera. But thanks for jumping in today, buddy. I appreciate you.
No problem, but have a great weekend, all right?
You too. Thanks. Again, thank everybody for just the last half hour. It's just been wild. No excuses. I want to thank everybody again for your kindness and your generosity and everything you did to help support us, to help us with our move to YouTube. These conversations are difficult to have, and people even in our own community may not agree with me, and that's fine. That's why I trust the people that work with us to help put on the show every single day, and even community reaction of some of the opinions that I might have. I don't expect people to agree with me, and I don't want everybody to agree with me. I hope people do, but I don't have that expectation. I want to be challenged on my opinions. I want to be a challenge on my belief set, and if I overstep and if I miss something, I want to be called out for it, and that's how we grow as humans, right? But thank you all for being here today. No Facts After Dark tonight. I need a break. I love you all very, very much. Mods, I love you guys. Chat, you're the smartest chat on TikTok. I don't know who's live right now. It's the usual people, but we've been trying to raid folks, and our raids have been sort of missing. But Danny's probably out there or others, but I just love you guys.